Welcome back to episode 45 of the Jiu Jitsu Dummies, everybody. Sponsored by Fightback CBD. Get 20% off your CBD order at fightbackcbd.com. You can use code JJD. My name is Milton Campis. Purple Belt, Fight Sports Coral Springs. You can check me out on Instagram at Uncle Milty BJJ. Got Bo behind the camera, and I brought these knuckleheads with me today. Let's go around the room.
Jiu Jitsu Dummies.
People know this guy here.
Drew Phoenix. Black
Name,
belt.
rank, serial number.
Yeah,
Since this is a military show today, right? We'll give your name, rank, serial number. How do you do that?
Sergeant. Actually, second award sergeant, because I was such a good sergeant. The Marine Corps made me one twice. Andrew Cuthbert, a.k.a. Drew Phoenix, black belt, head instructor of A&M Jiu-Jitsu. Follow us at A&M BJJ.
Nick Rahn, founder of Warriors Next Adventure, Air Force veteran. I know I was Air Force. I feel comfortable.
I didn't even say anything.
I really wish you would have gotten me a more comfortable
but he knows
chair,
it's coming. He knows it's coming.
From either side of the room, you know what I mean?
Hey, you can follow us on Warriors Next Adventure. On Instagram, follow me on Nick Explores Everything. And yeah.
All right.
Next up,
Jeremy Sustala, Marine Corps veteran. White belt. And train out of
white belt. How did we get a white belt? How did we let a white belt in here? You brought
sneaky.
I'm just kidding.
He had a friend.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. White belt. What else?
Yeah, white belt at a 5 in Houston, or in New Braunfels, Texas, and just started my adventure. So
very cool.
You got any stripes,
Welcome.
bro?
Oh yeah, 2 whole ones.
He's a second degree white belt.
Your second degree. You got to say it like that.
Make it
especially
sound
when
cool.
you meet black belts, you got to say I'm second degree white belt.
It doesn't sound as cool
Yeah,
though.
It doesn't.
Nah, bro, the girls like it. Trust me.
Welcome, guys. I appreciate you coming out. Let's just give a quick shout out to Flow and Roll at flow_n_roll on Instagram. You can get 20% off your online t-shirt, rash guard, or gi order with code JJD at flowandroll.com. All right. DD214 Fightwear, repping.
The best.
Right. At DD214_Fightwear, gear for the war on PTSD. Fits right in with the show today. Get 15% off your online order at DD214BJJ.com. Check out their new Soul Armor gi. Who said they got the Soul Armor gi? Did somebody say
I need that one.
It was Brandon. Brandon, I think.
one
He
of the
did.
guys
I want
said-
the white one because I don't even have any
He
white
sent me
gi.
one of the jungle green ones. It's my favorite gi, dude.
Bro, he sent me a black one, a black and green one when I got my black belt. Loved it, dude.
Yeah.
Damn, it's good gis.
Good dudes, man. You can check out the Soul Armor gi on the website. I guess it's shipping now, right? Your boy got one, or your guy. Who did you say?
What's it? The soul? Yeah, they are shipping now.
They're shipping.
Yeah.
All right, so they're.
Is it too late to buy one?
Well, I think they did a pre-order,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
think
sure there's going to be
usually
more
it does.
available.
Yeah, I know one.
And for those of you who don't know, it's got the names of fallen soldiers on the liner inside the gi top. So very, very cool. You can check out the link in the bio. I actually put the link to that page in the bio, the description of the podcast. We also want to thank Retro Grappler. We're going to be collaborating with Chris on some new podcast designs pretty soon, so check them out at Retro Grappler Shop and retrograppler.com. All right, we've got some new things coming your way pretty
Retro
soon.
Grappler, I'm sure Nick can agree with me with this. We need some Ninja Turtle wear.
Yeah. So I
go
have
check his-
I
go
have
check-
a Ninja Turtle rash guard,
I seen,
but it's a blue belt one, so I need a purple
You
belt
need a
one.
purple
now.
belt one. Donatello.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, he does a lot of custom stuff, but he did do a Ninja Turtle. I believe there's a Ninja Turtle rash guard at retrograppler.com for sale. I'm not sure if it's like
I never
specific
saw
to a
one.
gym.
I would
Check it
shank
out.
somebody for one of those.
Yeah, me too.
Well, you can hit him up. He does really cool designs.
All right, cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share wherever you're watching and listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to. That's what that's for. So
Hey.
don't forget to click the bell. You get updates on and notifications whenever we launch a new video. All right, that's all my intro stuff, guys. All right.
All right, guys, podcast done.
Yep, let's go. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming out, everybody.
Best one yet.
So, Nick, you're on this journey. We spoke. What episode was it? Oh,
I think 44.
like 40. No, those are 40. I think it was 41. We just spoke to you.
Oh yeah, 41.
So we got you back again. We told everybody you're going to be traveling the country. Tell Tell us how it's been going.
Well, we figured we'd stop here since we're in Miami.
Yeah, man.
So,
Let's do this.
it's been rough. We've renamed the bus to the Struggle Bus.
From the Warrior Wagon?
Oh, my God. So day one, we start this tour at about, we're supposed to start at 4, of course. You know, I'm always late. We start at 6. And picked up 2 guys. We had Joe ride with us. He helps me out with the nonprofit quite a bit, so he's going to be the camera guy. And then we ended up taking Ray. Ray is one of our brown belts. He's not a veteran, however, you know, with this tour, I'm trying to show and emphasize that, you know, non-veterans are a big part of our healing process in jiu-jitsu. And so I was like, you know what, I have room. I was like, you know, Ray, why don't you come with me? So he rode with for the first part of the tour, but I'm pretty sure he regretted it immediately. Because 280 miles into it, right outside of Fargo, we blew the engine.
What?
Completely seized the engine, dude. Gone.
So, did you got this bus? Where'd you get this bus from?
So I bought the bus in Florida, in Defung Springs. I don't know.
I don't know where that is.
Defungus Springs. It's north of Fort Walton Beach.
No clue.
So that was an adventure on its own. So
you came out and got it and drove it back, or did you get it shipped?
Well, I drove it back to at least Montgomery, and then I blew the serpentine belt, which not a big deal, right?
No clue
But it
what
was
that is, but anyway.
It's the main belt that makes everything go.
Okay.
So that one, it was a special order belt, and nobody had it. So I had to wait till the next morning. So I had to sleep in the hood in the middle of Montgomery, Alabama. Even the guys at the parts store like, dude, don't sleep here. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine, man. He's like, no. You should go to a hotel. I'm like, I'm good. So I ended up staying overnight, and it rained. Good thing is the bus was waterproof. But there was a bunch of holes in the bottom of the bus from where the seats were bolted in. So all that cold air was shooting through, and all I had was a shitty blanket. So Nina was the girl I got it from. She's some hippie from Florida who used to sell jewelry out of this thing.
Yeah.
So she blessed the bus, and we prayed and everything before we left. And I'm pretty sure that she knew what I was getting into. It's like, why are we praying? I was like, wait, do you know something that...
She blessed it or she cursed it?
I was like, do you know something that we don't? Or so we blew the serpentine belt. Not a big deal, right? We ended up getting a new one the next day. I drive it up to Tennessee because I had a buddy of mine who's a bus mechanic up there. So we looked it over. He's like, yeah, it's pretty good shape. So we ended up getting all the way, driving back in Wisconsin, which is where I was going to leave it. My board member from St. Croix Custom Furniture, who's one of our sponsors, he helped me build out the inside. I broke down 90 miles away from his house. I blew 2 of the passenger rear tires. But luckily, it was all stuff that I needed to change anyway because those tires are 16 years old. So they're pretty old. So, I mean, they're probably going to get changed out anyway. So not a big deal. I just stayed overnight in a hotel on the side of the road, got it back to his house. We spent probably about 3 months rebuilding that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we put a bunk bed in the back. We put a bed on the side with storage underneath it. And that's where we have battery packs. So we got 2 12-volt batteries that are paralleled together, connected to an inverter. The inverter transfers the power from 12 volt to 120. So you just regular plug. And we put in some LED lights in the ceiling. We put a bunch of USB ports on the side. And we thought we were good to go, right? And that bus started up every time, cranked up every time, never had an issue.
No, it doesn't work. Yep.
Wrong. So we end up getting to Fargo, and we blow this thing, right? We called this place called Matt's Automotive, and they picked us up in a car and then ended up going back and get the bus. Super good people. Matt's Automotive up in Fargo. You guys got us back on the road. So that night, they were like, yeah, things aren't looking good. The engine's seized up. There's no oil in the engine. I was like, okay, bullshit, because I just checked it before I left. So there was a leak in it's called the rear main seal. It's just the backside of the engine, and it was a slight drip. And we already had somebody in Kalispell, Montana, which was our first stop. We were going to have the rear main seal fixed because we didn't have time to do it before we left. And luck, we didn't know this thing was leaking until the day before we left. I'm like, this is awesome. Poor planning. So anyway, it blew the first day. So we're like, God damn it. So we just go to Fargo Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Gregory Anich. So I did an interview with him. We trained with him for 2 days. That place is awesome. Really good people. They have 2 giant mat spaces that are separate. So like the intermediate class is going on while the beginners class is going on. They have some Muay Thai, really good guys out there. And so he actually ended up being my first stop, even though it wasn't planned.
Oh, dope.
Great interview though.
Jiu-jitsu, baby.
Yeah.
I know, right? So everywhere I've gone, I've noticed that like the jiu-jitsu family, it's essentially that's what it is. It's family.
Of course.
Everybody is super accepting. I've never had an issue going into a gym and not feeling welcome, you know?
You felt welcome today at my gym.
Yeah, until you heel hooked me like 3 times.
That was a loving gesture, bro.
And it's all
I have
on
a foot
video.
fetish, so I'm sorry, I'm not sorry.
Good instructor. He's just trying to
The
teach
crazy thing is, so
Exactly.
we just so happened to find an engine, a 350 Chevy engine, V8, and we were like, okay, sweet, let's get it. He's like, there's a caveat. He's like, the guy who built this engine, he rebuilds hot rod engines. So we have a cammed out 350 Chevy V8 inside that bus. So when that thing starts up, it's like blah, 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 blah. So if it was in like a Chevelle or something, you'd be like, damn, that sounds good, right? But it's in this fucking bus.
Sleeper, man.
So everyone's like, what is this thing? So we get back on the road on day 3.
Mhm.
We make it 45 minutes. And then next thing you know, I'm driving. I'm like, man, there must be a fire out there or something. And I was like, is everything smoky? Like, it doesn't look like it's coming from inside the bus. So I'm like, what is going on? And I look back and I do double take. I was like, Joe, fire! And so
What
I
the
steer over and I slam on the brakes. There's 2-foot flames shooting up. He's sleeping behind me in the bed behind me. And there's 2-foot flames shooting up next to him. If there wasn't plywood on top of there,
Yeah.
he would have been getting hit in the ass with fire.
Oh,
So we
shit.
slam over. I was like, Joe, get the fire extinguisher. And I kicked him off the bus because I'm not going to have him, get smoke inhalation and shit.
Yeah.
So I'm inside the bus putting this thing out, ripping floorboards off the ground so everything doesn't start on fire.
Firefighter man over
Bro,
here.
it was bad.
Jeez.
So if anybody needs a firefighter, I need a
There we
job when I
go.
get back. So I put that thing out and I went and laid down on the grass and I couldn't breathe because I breathed in a lot of smoke. And I just sat there
Did
for
you
like
use the
10
fire
minutes.
extinguisher?
Yeah.
So like when you breathe that into, it's even worse, right? Like that.
Oh, dude, that dust is
I had to
bad.
use one time.
So, shout out to Brad who dropped off a fire extinguisher the day before he left. Said, "Hey, just in case
We could be telling a
that
different
thing would
story
have been
today.
gone, yeah. We wouldn't be
Like, so-
telling the story.
so we
probably.
don't
The
have a
one day,
bus.
the 50 days turned into a one-day tour.
know, right?
It
So-
would be on Skype.
The crazy thing was he broke down in the middle of nowhere in North Dakota, right? So if anybody's been on I-90 on 94, or I think it was 94 there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's 94 up there. So in the middle of Bismarck and Fargo, there's nothing. It's just fields, right? So we make a phone call in the morning. I broke down that night internally. I was just like, I
Yeah.
can't believe it just happened. So we cleaned up as much as we could, and we limped it off the road to like some random gas station. And I was like, Joe, I can't do anything else today. I'm just completely defeated.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I need to just stop. So I just went to bed. And I woke up in the morning. I was like, okay, what are we going to do? I'm a problem solver, right? So I started looking around for different shops, and there was a diesel shop. So I called him up. He's like, bring it in. We'll figure it out. So we pull it in there, and I tell the guy about what we're trying to do with this nonprofit and with the tour. And he's like, yeah, we'll look around. So I was in his shop while he was working. He pulls out the exact same muffler that we needed. So I'm like, I didn't even say why we needed a muffler. The reason why the bus started on fire is there was a hole in the top of the muffler where it was shooting flames in the floorboards, and it started the interior of the bus on fire. So
That was an important part of the story, bro.
I think
That's
So
a
that's
little
muffler
important.
1, just for the count.
Oh yeah. Keep in mind,
There's a
muffler,
scoreboard.
muffler number 1.
Oh, there's
There's a
muffler number
scoreboard.
2?
Yes.
Is
So
it-
this
how
is-
many mufflers did you go through so
well,
far?
we'll get there. This is muffler number 2, the exact same muffler we needed. So the guy ripped it off, put a new one on, welded it on, and everything. 15 minutes it took him. It took him a little time to get it set up and all that shit. So we were out of there in 35 minutes. And so because I was telling these guys this story, they're like, I really appreciate what you're doing for our veterans and everything. So he's like, go ahead. I was like, well, how much? He's like, it's on me. I'm like, man, that's awesome. So I gave him a coin.
That's
and
awesome.
That's
so
really
it's
cool.
there's a lot of this happening as we've been going around in this tour. The generosity that I've found on this tour from the United States has been amazing. Not one person, except for the people. Our blinkers aren't working, so the people that we've cut off. I'm sorry.
Oops. Hey,
This would be
you have
such-
no problem here. We don't use those things here. I don't know if you noticed.
So he throws that on there. We get some lunch, and I look at Joe. I gave him a hug. I was like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I was like, I put him through this, So I was like, damn, I'm sorry. So we end up hauling ass. We make it all the way through Montana, no issues. We go down through. We stopped at a place, got some lunch. And we went south. We're going through Montana, and we're like, we could go to Idaho and cut down, or we can go south through, Yellowstone. I've always wanted to go there. Joe's never been there, so I'm like, let's spend some time for ourselves and calm down a little bit. We'll take our time.
Go see some old faithful.
Yeah, well, the hot spring pits were really cool looking, and so we got some good video of that. And so we thought we'd go to Old Faithful, right?
Yeah.
Seen that since I was a kid. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be amazing. So we get out there, and I see that thing going off as we're driving up. It's like, oh, cool. So we'll catch the next one. We sit there and set up, and I'm like,
Is it predictable? Is it?
it's like every 30 or 40 minutes or something like that. So I didn't realize how long was the wait. So we set up the camera, and we're just standing there. And I look at Joe. I was like, this is pretty. It's pretty boring, you know.
You're gonna get a lot of content.
We just went an hour and a half out of our way for a water that shoots up for like 10 minutes. So I was just like, all right, the thing goes off. I'm like, oh, cool. We took some pictures. We turn around, take a selfie. Like, let's get the fuck out of here. God, this is a waste of time. So we take off. We go back, make it to Idaho. No issues in Idaho. And then we ended up going through Nevada. And so it kept sputtering. We're like, what the hell's going on with this thing? And so we ended up pulling over and just taking the night off. And so we start hauling ass again the next day because we have to be in NorCal Fighting Alliance in Santa Rosa, which is north of San Francisco. And so we get there, and it's still sputtering really bad. So we stop to get gas. We're 15 minutes out, right? So we have to be at the gym at 6 o'clock. We have to be at, Tyler Dressler is a WeDefy athlete. We were going to pick him up. We had to be at his house to shower and everything because we hadn't showered this whole time. And we're going on day 5. Day 5 on no shower. It was not good, man.
I don't think the bus went on fire because of the muffler.
It went on fire because of the stank. So we haul ass. We end up getting there, or 15 minutes before we get there, we stop at a gas station. I go to start the vehicle up, and there's flames shooting out of the hood. I'm like, what is happening? So I go over and I look. The ground wire from the battery to the engine completely gone. And so I real quick went inside. I'm smart, and I brought all of my equipment with me.
Yeah.
I brought wiring. I brought all my tools, everything. So I grabbed a wire, quick, spliced it together, boom, started up, good to go.
Yeah.
Sweet. So we get there, we shower for like 2 minutes, and then we get to the gym. We made it. No issues.
Everybody
you said-
together?
that's
Were you
what I was
scrubbing each
thinking.
other's back? Everybody together? 2 minutes. Got to do this quick.
What was
Let's all
this
jump in
movement
together.
there?
He's used to it. He's done this
Hey,
before.
come on, man.
So, we get
My
there,
joke.
and day one, our first planned stop, I should say, was at NorCal Fighting Alliance with David Terrell. Holy shit, is that gym filled with some killers.
Yeah.
Those guys are monsters. You should go up there and train your leg lock game with those guys because I got heel hooked about 15 times up there. I got white belts heel hooking me. I'm like, what is happening?
My
it?
white belts can heel hook.
What is it? What's the saying that you told me on the podcast?
That in my gym we heel hook our white belts because my white belts know heel hooks.
I like it.
that. There you go.
Yeah, so we go in there, and anybody who trains at NorCal Fighting Alliance will agree it's disgusting after we're done, right? Not a bad thing, but just
puddles.
It's just they have to clean the mats with squeegees. Like that's how sweaty that gym gets.
Damn.
These guys roll hard.
In NorCal?
Yeah, man. They're even their females are rolling hard as shit. Like seeing the way that they roll with each other, some really good talent in there. And then David Terrell comes over to me, and we're sitting there talking. He's like, "Do you want to roll?" I'm like, "Well, not really, but sure." Because this guy's just, he fought Dean Lister twice, and he's like the same size, same build, same giant face as Dean Lister, right? So I grab that guy and I put my hand over his shoulder and we go to roll. We're doing nogi. The second he grabs my shoulder, I'm like, I think I just got grabbed by a robot. Like I couldn't move. I'm like, well, whatever you want to do, I guess, So just jacked me up for like 15 minutes, man.
Damn.
And it was fun to roll with them. It's just I couldn't do a thing.
Damn.
It's like, as I go around this tour, I'm just like, man, I should quit jiu-jitsu.
Man, I suck.
It's so bad.
A lot of people would have quit probably when the engine blew.
There's been a lot of people, this bus is turning out to be something very good for this nonprofit, for the meaning and the cause, right?
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of emails and I've gotten a lot of texts and phone calls just like, dude, how do you keep going? It's like, I believe in the mission. And I truly believe in what this documentary can be.
A lot of people would have quit.
Yeah.
It would have, and nobody would have blamed you or somebody was going through this.
Well, it's the sad thing is it's like it's all donation money, right? So we paid $3,000 for the bus, which is a good price. The cost of building it up was all paid for because St. Croix Custom Furniture, his donation to the nonprofit was to get the wood to build the framing and everything, and he helped me do the floor. He helped me do the walls, everything. So he did a really good job. He did not do any mechanical work. I just want to preface that, so that's not his fault.
Oh,
None of the fires are his fault.
No, not he did a great job. And so we were at about $3,000. Well, I say 3,500 because the batteries we had to buy that was donated from Minnesota Military Exchange. I helped them out with some audio stuff, and they donated a $300 O'Reilly card, so I used it for that.
Awesome.
And so, not bad, right? And so after the engine blew, $5,700. So I'm sitting here, I'm torn, and I'm like, well, do I just go back to Minnesota and grab my truck? But then we're at $6,500 for the whole trip for hotels and stuff. Because if you add it up, how much it's going to cost. I'm cool with crashing on couches, but I'm going to have 2 or 3 guys with me sometimes. So people are going to have to give up 3 guys in their house. I don't want to do that. So I'm like, do I quit? I'm always making sure I'm not hitting that insanity section. There's a book called Think and Grow Rich. You read that?
Yeah.
So there's a section where they're talking about, stopping before you hit gold. There's a guy who ended up buying a mining machine, a gold mining machine, right? So he got to the point where he found a vein of gold, and he followed it and made some good money, but then the vein stopped, and he couldn't find it. So he ended up just giving up. And what he did was he sold it to a guy. When the guy bought it from him, he's like, hey, where were you digging? So the guy buys this guy's machine, goes back 3 feet down. He stopped 3 feet away from gold. So I think about it like this, if I quit now, am I stopping before gold, or am I working on insanity, right? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. So I reached out to my board after the multiple breakdowns. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm torn here. Like, I feel like I'm wasting people's money. But when the bus broke down, I was very vocal about it, said, okay, guys, this is what's happening, right? And I said, we're going to need about $5,000 to get this thing going. I was like, I don't know if we're going to do this or we'll see what happens. 2 days it took us to raise $5,700. Wow. That's how much people believe in what we're doing.
Yes.
And so after that happened, I talked to my board, and they're like, listen, dude, everybody who donated knew exactly what they were donating to. They know what you're trying to do. This documentary is going to save lives. I promise you that, especially with some of the interviews I had today. So some of you guys had some good interviews too. You did okay.
I was about to say, fuck me, right?
5 minutes.
So, it just keeps happening, right? And then after NorCal, we did sell to Saber Jiu-Jitsu with Bryant Peligan. Fucking great gym, right? Some of his purple belts just murdered me. I'm starting to notice every gym I go to, I come in there and I don't really pick people to roll with. People are kind of seeking me out, right? So you got a purple belt coming into your gym. Usually the purple belt's like, all right, let's see what this motherfucker's got, right? And so there was a couple times where a blue belt would come up to me because he was a veteran and he wanted to roll with me. I'm like, okay. So I give him my speech and everything like that, and we go do the drills, and then we roll. And this blue belt came up to me. We rolled, and I kind of smashed him a little bit.
Squeezed him a little bit.
Yeah, like he was really good, but I just kind of had the leg up on him. But I look over, and all their purple belts are staring at me. All their brown belts were staring at me.
Foaming at the mouth.
So I'm like, shit, I'm about to get destroyed. So
they threw you.
Yeah.
They threw you one. Like, let's see what he does with this.
They didn't throw me under the bus. They shot me in a cannon under that damn bus.
I'm saying they threw you a blue belt. They said, here, sacrificial lamb.
I know, right?
Right.
So I just got absolutely murdered in every gym that I've been to. And on top of that, I'm tired.
Those character.
We've hit like 7,000 miles by Florida. We're at 7,000 miles that we've driven.
Shit.
And I've done the majority of the driving. Thank God, since Jeremy's been with me, he's been doing a lot of the driving so I can rest. I haven't been resting because I've just been driving. And so, he drives, towards the end of the night, he'll drive, and then I'll take like a 2-hour nap, and then I'll drive until like 1 or 2 o'clock at night, depending on how far we got to go. And then I'll just rack out and we'll drive in the morning.
So we haven't even mentioned the name of the documentary. I mean, people that have watched before know. Sure. Tell them the name of the documentary and where they can donate if they want to donate to Warriors Next.
Yeah, so you could donate to Warriors Next Adventure in millions of different ways. We got Instagram, we got Facebook. When you shop on Amazon, you can use Amazon Smile. Warriors Next Adventure is under that. Facebook, if you go to our website, we have a donate button that goes to PayPal Giving Fund. The good thing about PayPal Giving Fund and Facebook, there's a plus and a minus. Facebook and PayPal Giving Fund, they don't take any fees from the donor or us. But the problem is they hold it for like 15 days. It's like, I'm assuming because they, so they collect the interest on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever. I'm cool with that because then you're not losing any money in the transaction. We just have to wait a little bit,
Yeah.
So if we need money right away, we put out the regular PayPal. Because we can take that, we can transfer that to the bank for like a $2 fee or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different ways. So
what I like from what you're saying is like you're very mindful of how you spend the money. So it's like the mission is important, but you're also being mindful about the money, which is usually where people get crossed when it comes to running a nonprofit.
Most big, nonprofits, are known for spending so much money on advertising that more money goes into raising money than goes to the extra people that need it. I think is it Salvation Army? I mean, like some of these organizations, the CEOs make millions of dollars, and that money's not getting into the hands of the people that need it. So that's usually the dig on the larger foundations. You just don't know where the money's going, and when you do, it's not being spent on what you're really donating it for.
The mission, like you said.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I try to make that the focus so people know if you donate to me, this is what it's going to.
Yeah.
I don't want people going like, well, where did that money go? Right.
Like, I don't even shower, motherfucker.
When you're talking about this, when you're talking about all the things that happened, the documentary is going to be more interesting because of those things.
Well,
you know what I mean? The trials and tribulations that you're going to get this done.
Yeah, people are gonna think like it's staged.
Yeah, a little part of me thinking like it's like, oh, they're gonna think, look at us, we broke down here.
It's fucking fire.
But it's gonna make for a better story. It's gonna make for good content. And I mean, look, you're talking about PTSD and people going through these traumatic events, and here you are struggling yourself. People are gonna be able to watch you struggle a little bit.
Well,
get this done. Not that we're wishing it upon you.
No, I got you. Well, see, the thing is, like this documentary. So the documentary is called PTSD versus Jiu-Jitsu. So a lot of people don't like the PTSD. They don't like that D word, right?
Notice how it's saying post-traumatic stress.
It's a disorder, right? So the reason why I went with PTSD versus Jiu-Jitsu is I want people to understand that PTSD doesn't have to control your life. Jiu-Jitsu is a viable opponent against PTSD, right? So even if you see it as PTSD, PTSG, whatever you want to call it, it's not an end game.
Yeah.
You don't have to lose to it, right? There's other things you can do to try to overcome PTSD. I truly believe that maybe it can't be cured. I don't know. But
it's like
you
the
can
scar.
definitely own it.
It's like a scar. Like I don't sit up here and talk about like my ACL injury. Like I say, it's like become identified with it. When I first came out, I was really heavy into the veteran game, promoting post-traumatic growth and all that. And one thing that I used to tell, my brothers and sisters is like, why do you say my PTSD as if it's a part of your identity? Like, no, it's something that we experienced, but it's just like the scar. Like you don't have to identify with it. Just understand that it exists. We have our little quirks, right? We have our thing. We all have a thing. Right, we were just talking about it, waking up like at 0 to 100, ready to kill everything. But don't wake us up unless you let us know that you're there, right? Or the golf club, like your wife does. It's awesome.
My daughter just knocks on her. Dad.
Yeah.
Dad. It's like, I'm awake, dude. Don't worry. She's like, oh, okay, cool. I just want to make sure you didn't punch me.
But bro, like me, like I have like this swoop. Like I'll like do this, the sheets will come off, and I'll start running. Right. Later on in my life, when I started sleeping naked, that shit became a problem. It's like sheet one way, Johnson going the other way. Like,
okay, I wasn't expecting that. He just threw me off a little bit.
He got excited. Shut up.
Well, Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have, or PTSD doesn't have to control your life. No. And the goal for this, I'm actually learning a lot about myself on this documentary too. This tour has taught me that I can push through anything. And I keep telling people that, you have to adapt and overcome. I'm a problem solver.
Right.
When there's a problem, let's figure it out, right? Let's not sit and dwell too long because the fucking bus started on fire. Shit, put it out. Okay, what's next? How did the fire start? Shit, we got a shitty muffler. Let's go take a nap, right? Because sometimes I tell people there's usually a solution to every problem. And I've said it multiple times in this documentary. Jiu-Jitsu teaches you there's a solution to every problem. Sometimes that solution is to just wait. Because sometimes time is the only thing we can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a 300-pound dude on top of you rolling around. Sometimes just wait it out. He'll get tired. Stuff like that.
I'm offended by that.
Right.
And one of the keys too.
I don't know why you're talking about me.
You don't weigh 300 pounds.
Getting there, bro. God, I'm sorry.
But one of the keys with that too, I forgot what I was going to say.
That threw you off my weight choke.
That when you're in problem solving mode, it's like you have to understand that you're always not gonna like the solution,
mm-hmm.
right? Because time, like who the hell wants to wait? You know, and especially when you have a 300-pound sweaty dude on top
Yeah,
of
no,
you,
right.
like,
Just dripping in your eyes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I always
the
tell
worst.
people you got to like one foot in front of the other. You're going to get there. You know, other people have had their cars break down and they're still here. They're alive and they're kicking and they've moved on. One foot in front of the other with any problem. I think sometimes I used to tell people at work, like, just if you were driving a car at night, you can only really see as far as the headlights can show you.
Yeah.
So that's just look as far as the headlights can show you right now and solve the problem. Like you said, don't be overwhelmed. And you're going to get there. I think that a lot of times people are like, oh, but this, and then they're thinking too far down the road.
Yeah.
My wife does this. I tell her, don't add your own narrative to what's about to happen. Handle this right here.
Yeah, what if?
Don't
what if?
add-
What if?
yeah.
I mean, what if my
And then
grandma
it's
had a
gonna
dick? She'd
happen
be
like
my
this,
grandpa.
and-
You know what I'm saying?
We look too as human beings, we look too far down the road sometimes, and you
Yeah.
got to like say stop. Because I actually had this conversation with her last night. I said, you know, sometimes we have to take yourself out of the situation, take a step back, and look at it from the outside looking in, and then you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
But you have to be here. You can't be 30 days down the road. You can't be an hour down the road.
Well, one thing I'm learning about myself is so Tyler Dressler, he's going to be a part of the documentary. Tyler had so much fun breaking down with me for a week. He's actually coming back. So
Okay.
on the 31st, he's flying to Boston. He's going to ride with me because he heard that we're
So,
going.
so explain to everybody how you didn't just pick this guy up on the side of the road
sure.
and say, hey,
So-
you want to learn jiu-jitsu? Here's a white belt and 2 stripes.
Oh yeah.
So we
Second degree.
Watch out.
second degree.
He brought his lat lizard with him.
Not a dry panty listening right now. Okay, so this documentary, you know, it's about jiu-jitsu, of course. So why would I not partner with an organization who focuses on veterans in jiu-jitsu? So
Yeah.
I've been involved with We Defy Foundation for quite a while. I'm one of their ambassadors, but I'm also on their athlete engagement team. There you go.
There you go.
So I'm on their athlete engagement team. So essentially what we do is we mentor the athletes, right? So the athletes that have the scholarships, we are supposed to contact them. So the rules are contact them minimum once a month, just to make sure they're doing okay. You know, check in. Is do you have your belt? You know, do you have this? You know, is training going well? Are you getting along with everybody? Stuff like that. And so there's no real rules of what we're supposed to do. But I personally, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna get to know them. So I'm not saying everybody else doesn't. This is just the way I do it. So when I first had him under my list, I said, hey man, what's up? I want to get more information about you. And so I started gathering information and try to see like, how do I need to address this guy? And then I also start to think, you know, does this guy need Warriors Next Adventure as well? Right. So I'm an asset to We Defy. And I always tell them, you know, if you guys ever have a veteran who's struggling and you guys need help or there's some suicide prevention stuff, because I'm actually trained in suicide prevention. So it's not just me saying, hey, I got some ideas. I was actually trained by the FBI in the military in hostage negotiation. And so we got to do a, what's it called? Active shooter training.
Mhm.
And then also did like negotiation tactics with these guys. And then when I was in the state patrol, we took all kinds of, you know, negotiation skills, you know, the verbal judo, but we got a lot more in depth with this. So I spent 8 years. My whole job was, if you had an emergency, you call 911. My whole job is to get you to think that your situation isn't as bad as it actually is. So essentially, I mind fuck people into thinking more positively, right? So that's essentially what I do with the
Believe and
nonprofit.
achieve.
Yeah, there you go.
You can get out of here.
So I usually reach out and say, hey, by the way, you know, I'm your mentor. And I don't really know what it's called. I think it's called the mentor or athlete engagement guy, or
I like an
ambassador.
athlete engagement guy. That
There we
sounds
go.
cool.
I'm the
Purple
guy
belt.
that talks to you.
Purple belt.
They referred to you as the weird guy with the wolves.
I am the weird guy with the wolf. I have, so my girlfriend, the guys at her work found out what I do, and they called me Wolf Man for the longest time.
Well, now you got all this
I
going
don't have
here.
the
You know,
beard,
you got all
long
that.
hair.
Bro,
You know.
I have not trimmed up on this whole trip,
Yeah.
so I look ridiculous right now. So with the We Defy athlete engagement team, I was like, I'm going to take it a step further. I was like, look, I talked to Tyler first, right? So Tyler Dressler is up at NorCal Fighting Alliance. His story is amazing, and I'm not going to tell it. You're going to have to
Every
watch.
time
the
you say
documentary.
Tyler, I
Tyler
think of Fight.
Durden.
Yep. Every time you say his name, I'm like Fight Club.
Brad Pitt.
Go ahead.
Tyler's story's fantastic, and what he's overcome with jiu-jitsu, that story alone is just amazing. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. You got to watch the documentary.
Yeah.
So I traveled the country for this long, broke down this many times. If you guys don't watch that documentary, I'm gonna be so pissed. So Tyler's the first one I reached out to. He's like, hey bro, I'm going to be in NorCal. Do you want to ride with me through California? I was like, you'll have to take like a week off work. He's like, yep. I was like, oh, that wasn't hard. So then I reached out to Jeremy. I was like, hey, by the way, I have one of my athletes riding with me. Do you want to join me for a period of the tour? And I think it was maybe the second time we talked. Like, yeah. And I was just like, holy shit, he's actually coming. Sweet. And then I reached out. What's that?
Suckered me in.
I did. I verbal judoed you into it.
It's not gonna be that bad. Just a couple fires.
I found out I'm garbage at judo the other day. We'll get into that. But I'm very good at
You
verbal
there too?
judo.
Oh yeah.
Were you
Oh,
there
dude,
too?
it was
Oh,
bad. 14-year-old whooped my ass.
Bro, you gotta double leg those motherfuckers. Bro. There was one time there was this Russian. He speak no English, bro. Black belt judo, swole to the gills. And I'm looking at him. He's like, "You want to roll?" I was like, "Yeah, bro." Double leg all day, just shot it for the double legs, and I heel hooked him. Oops.
Yeah, so I ended up reaching out to Oscar, Oscar Rosa. He's in Charleston, so he's actually going to ride with me for a period of time up until the compound up in the Baltimore area.
The compound.
Yeah, the compound.
Is that the name of the gym?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's compound Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu
Okay.
with Pow is his name. So we're actually doing a Arlington tour, and he wanted to go see Arlington Cemetery. So he's like, I'm just going to ride with you. So he's with me for 10 days. And then Tyler enjoyed it so much, he's actually coming back on the 31st. So
You
I
can hit
have-
by
you
High
wanna
Road too.
go.
You know the guys from High Road?
the what?
High Road BJJ.
Where's that at?
It's in Virginia. I got to give you the information if you can get in. He's
Yeah.
he was oh my God, Dave. Jesus Christ, I forget names. I'm so bad with names. He used to be on the board of We Defy.
Oh shit. Okay.
Like I remember his name. It'll
Yeah,
come
I'll have
me.
to reach out to him because we're full up on the rest of the tour, but maybe we can get him to come out.
Yeah, you never know. Something happens.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta.
Yeah, no, I take it for
It's
sure.
happened a few times where you've had to skip a location.
Well,
or-
you hooked us up today.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you know,
we
we
had,
changed locations.
Coral Springs Fight Sports. We were supposed to go there today, but
Yeah.
they were getting an AC put in.
Yeah.
So I had actually commented on a lot of Drew's stuff because Drew's always fucking cheesing in all his pictures. I was like, I like this. This guy smiles all the time. I'm like, all right, I want to talk to this
I
guy.
told you it was a good fit.
So I started commenting on your stuff. You're like, hey
Yeah.
man, you're ever down here? I'm like, sure. And then
Yeah.
he sends a group text with the three of us. I'm like, wait, I already have this
I know
guy's
this
number.
Dave Kaidash, the last name, Dave Kaidash
Oh, okay.
from High Road BJJ. He used to be on the board.
Yeah, send me,
We Defy.
text me that later.
I'll send you the info.
Dame Bramage. I'm not going to remember.
Yeah.
Dane Bramage. I just want to put that out there. Fuck my
But
head
yeah,
up,
so
man.
your gym was awesome. A&M,
Thanks.
man, that place, Hard Knocks, is awesome.
Yeah,
That facility is massive, dude.
it is.
Was that a basketball court in the back too?
That's not ours though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they host tournaments there, so we're just gonna like open the doors and blast music and have like entrances.
You have
every
real
time.
good. I told you before. I'll say it on air now. You got a really good crew there.
Yeah.
You had a lot of
Except
nice
my
guys.
asshole, disrespectful purple belts.
You, really?
All of them. I hate
Yeah.
them all.
No, you lying.
Train them so
Tell 'em
good, and then they
lies.
try to heel hook me.
Yeah.
I got
A very good vibe in that gym.
hell
A
yeah.
very
Yeah.
good vibe of guys, like tight knit. Everybody was cool. Everybody was like welcoming and.
Yeah.
I really
Because-
like black belts like you, man,
I
because
mean-
you're just fucking chill. One of the guys. I mean, you said you're 34.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you're a pretty young black belt too, but like you're exactly how you are in the gym as you are outside of the gym. Just
Hell
chill, have fun.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because I spent a lot of years, dealing with the demons, and just really hyper focused on that. So like with the depression and like, just like being angry and stuff like that. And
Do you know what he used to do? Do you know what he used to do? The
oh,
sorry?
spoken word. The
there's-
spoken
but what
word
was the
perform-
name of the
Combat
musician?
Hippies.
Combat Hippies. Do you know anything about what he
Mm-mm.
used to do?
No, what is that?
Oh, you gotta
I-
check out some of his videos.
So back, I don't know, this is like 2014, 15. So when I just got out of
a
college.
lifetime ago.
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago, man. But I was listening to a pod, like just a video of Tony Robbins on the way to like college, and he started talking about post traumatic growth, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And growing up when my father left, that's when I started writing, because I just was like, yo, I have all these emotions, I don't know what to do with it, so I just started writing. And then the writing turned into performing what I wrote, and people liked it. So I'm like, all right, well, if I could get messages across like this, let me write some shit. So I wrote this one piece early on. It was called Post Traumatic Growth. And my boy Elliot Host, who has like 2 million followers on YouTube, he put it on his page, and that kind of got me some attention. And then from there, it blossomed into me hooking up with 3 other veterans, and we started a group called the Combat Hippies. So our thing was like, he smiled because he knows, like, in Marine Corps, it's like everything's like, you're the combat fucking cameraman, you're the combat this. Yeah. Right. So it's like, oh, Combat Hippies. You know what I mean? It's like a nice little go between. And our message was to promote post traumatic growth. Right. It's like you said. We don't have to be identified with the PTSD, right?
Yeah, it's not like, hi, I'm PTSD.
Yeah, I'm PTSD.
Wait, no. My name is Nick.
Exactly. Right. And even like as a veteran, it's like, it's one of the hats you wear.
Yeah.
You know, okay, you got the PTSD scar, you got the veteran hat, you got the father hat, the jiu-jitsu hat. Like, there are all these different hats that you wear, but you're not identified with them. You know, and so we made a whole theatrical like a show. Right. And we were touring it for like 3 years around the South Florida area. And we really did some good work, because what would happen at our shows is a little edgy, because I had a piece where it was like a fuck war piece. Right. And
yeah, so that can set some veterans off on the wrong way.
Yeah.
But most veterans are
we don't like
pretty
it.
anti-war.
Yeah. But
you know,
exactly.
It's fun.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it was like I started off funny about like somebody like asking me, did I ever kill anybody? And I'm like, yeah, no shit, there was like 5 terrorists, and all 20 of them came at me, and then all 40 of them were laying at my feet. I start off really funny, and I'm like, hey, you know the funniest thing about war? It ain't funny. And then I start going in, right, talking about it. And then at the end, I left a quote of Smedley Butler. Right, did you know what Smedley Butler did when he separated from service? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they tell us about how much of a war horse he was when we were in boot camp, but they never tell us that, like, when he gets out, he was the most anti-war Marine. So you're talking about one of the most decorated Marines that ever served, 2 Medal of Honors, right? And he wrote a book and was giving speeches when he came out called "War is a Racket," and he said, "War is a racket. It is, and it always has been. It is possibly the oldest, surely the most vicious, and easily the most profitable. It is the only racket in which profits are reckoned in dollars and losses in lives." And the reason why he was doing this is because 5 of the richest businessmen came to him like right after World War I, and they wanted him to do a coup d'etat so that they could continue going to war so that they could make their profits. He told them to go fuck themselves. He's like, then he realized that his whole service, it was like, war is a racket, and that's what he did. So I leave it with a quote from Smedley Butler. It's like, you can say whatever the fuck you want to say to me, but question a fucking war horse like that.
You know, what I often say is, like, you know, people always say, well, you're over there fighting for oil. You know, I always look at them and tell them, like, look, I was there for my brothers.
Of course.
That's the only thing I was there for. I honestly, really, I could care less why I was there. I was a 50 cal gunner on convoy tours. And so my whole goal was to find IEDs. I was a lead gunner in 2008. So my whole goal...
What are you going to do, shoot it, motherfucker?
I mean, I wanted to, but they always told me no. So, but no,
frowned upon.
So my goal was to find IEDs.
Yeah.
And so
were you like the first truck or something?
Yeah, I was a lead gunner.
Okay, cool.
So we'd be up front, and we'd be probably, you know, like 100 meters in front, and then every other truck was spaced about 50 meters, right?
Yeah.
So just in case it did go off on us, the other guys would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're essentially sacrificial lambs. And I was 150% okay with being in that slot, because that means that if I find that thing, it doesn't blow up my guys, then I did my job. I saved my brothers, right?
Yeah.
Or if we start getting shot at, you know, I have my 50 cal, and I was a damn good shot. So I wasn't really good at much in the military, but shooting the 50 cal and the 240, all the heavies, I was very good at that.
That 50 cal, bro. Nothing makes you feel like a man than shooting one of those.
Yeah.
Just like...
I always tell people. So I actually got in trouble from a general. Not the general, but for saying something to a general. So we had a general come out with us, and he was shooting the 50 cal with us. And for some reason, they chose me to go up there with him. I'm like, are you sure? I was like, because you know I can't hold my tongue. Like, don't say a fucking word. I'm like, okay, got it. So he goes out there, and he's like, oh, do you like shooting this thing? I was like, well, sir. I was like, I got to say, if you shoot a 50 cal and you don't get an erection, you're not doing it right. And so... So he starts laughing, right? And I was like, I got him. It's like, because generals are just people, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, whatever.
Cool.
So my sergeant's is like, what the fuck did you just say? What did I tell you? I'm like, come on, he laughed, right? So I got an LOR for that.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what's an LOR? What is
shit.
A letter of reprimand.
man.
Pretty much like, don't do that again.
Yeah.
But it's paperwork. So you get enough of them, you can get kicked out.
Such bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to cap the point is like we got up there and we did all that,
Mhm.
and we're telling the story, right? And we went like childhood, service, and post service, and we all had like different pieces, and they were like intermingled. It was pretty good, because our director, like, he really guided us well. And at the end we would have a Q&A, and that's when the family members were able to ask questions, and then the veterans were talking. So what it started is that, that whole thing where we're like, we don't say nothing because it's like, you don't understand. And it's like, well, you don't understand because
You're
we don't
opening up
tell
the door
you.
to 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how they feel about it, and what they see in our daily lives, and what we struggle through. And then at the same time, we look at the other side. What are they going through? And we don't think about it like
Yeah.
that. We just want to be bunkered down in our little hole, not
Yeah.
thinking of anything else. We want to stay away so we don't break something else.
Yeah.
And that's great that they did that. It's
Yeah.
It's easier to regress than actually go out and talk about it.
Yeah.
You know.
So that was the magic from that experience, and that's why I appreciate it. I mean, me and the guys fell out, after a while, but I'm really appreciative that we were able to do that work.
That's
Well,
amazing.
can you send me all that info? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I'll send you
So,
some stuff.
okay,
I'll send
cool.
you some videos. Of
Must
us.
not have been that good because I didn't hear about it.
Oh,
Damn.
we ain't watching a documentary.
I'm really excited to read that, man. That's awesome. I love that you did that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I would
talking
would
shit.
probably fit in with the hippies, the hippie veterans. I've been called the Buddha veteran. I've been called the hippie veteran. It's weird nicknames.
You're a combat hippie.
Yeah.
Because when I created the name, that's like what I was thinking about. It's like veterans like us. So you have the bro vets, like the Matt Best, and all of them. They're always wearing American flag hats and shit like that. They're doing their thing, which is cool. And then you have like the combat hippies who, we got the warrior in us. We train jujitsu, but
It's like
we
the-
like all the yoga and the fucking meditation.
It's like
and
the
all that.
warrior in a garden mindset.
Exactly.
Like it's because it's Zach McGuffey. God damn it! I'm sorry, Zach. So Zach runs 22 Until Valhalla. So we got introduced to each other because we have, like like-minded.
Yeah.
We talk about meditation. We talk about yoga. We talk about all these different things that veterans can try to kind of soothe themselves, right? You calm that warrior within, right?
Mhm.
So when you can control that interior warrior and actually get him to understand, like, listen, it's time to calm down.
Mhm.
That's when life really gets better because you can actually start to move forward.
Yeah.
You know,
Because it works, because that's the thing about a warrior, right? If you think about the warrior archetype, not the warrior job, which would be like, like an infantryman, like that's a warrior job, right? But the warrior archetype, like people like us, right? We need to fight something or else we're going to fight ourselves. So when you were talking about purpose at the gym today, it's like, it's so important because that warrior spirit needs to fight something.
And to caveat on that, what have I been telling you the whole time for our saying that I gave you? I didn't come up with it, but what have I been saying?
I know it, but I
Yeah,
can't remember the
so-
words exactly.
So
you
like you're
said.
saying, is fight for what you want now or fight against what you don't want later. And I heard it from motivational speak. I don't know his name. I'm sorry about that, but I mean that's hit hard, and it's something that, kind of as a white belt, you think of it as, all right, first thing your black belt tells you, just survive. And then you have to think and overcome on side of it. So you're fighting for what you want now or fighting against what you want later. And it's real deep. I mean, it's great. I mean,
Damn.
Yeah, so everybody's been writing quotes on our bus, because
Oh, I could write some quotes on your shit?
yeah. So people keep you got stickers.
Yes.
So when we go back down there, I've been having people put stickers on our ceiling.
Okay.
So,
Very cool.
but no, so, back to the resiliency of continuing, right?
Mhm.
The amount of times we broke down like 20 times, right? We haven't even gotten to the gas tank I had to drop.
Or
I
the
had-
Schulenburg,
yeah.
Texas, we went through
The what?
over in Schulenburg, 30 minutes from my house.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we the amount of breakdowns, man. Like I said, I've replaced the engine, the muffler, the fuel pump, 3 fuel lines, the starter, the battery, probably about 100 spark plug wires because they keep
Every
blowing.
morning.
Because
Every
there's
morning.
no, so people that understand cars, there's no heat shield on the manifold. So the heat shield protects the spark plug wires from the heat of the manifold. And then there's also a slight leak in the manifold, so it's shooting hot air up into it. So those spark plug wires they're melting, and they're arcing off of the manifold. And so what that did eventually is it blew the distributor cap, and it also blew the rotor inside the distributor. So I replaced that too. And there's many more things that I've had to change. So now the last time we actually went to a dealership, they dropped the gas tank again because the manifolds are glowing, right? So that's usually because there's an issue with the air fuel mixture. And so we got to drop the gas tank here in the next day or two. And we have to replace the gas tank. We have to replace the fuel pump, the fuel filter. It's all pretty easy, to be honest. One of your guys at your gym, bald head, beard, military BJJ, rash guard. I interviewed him today. What was his name?
Bald head, though? Oh, Pew.
Yes. So he said he's got a friend who's a diesel mechanic. He's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you guys can probably come back to my house and do it at our shop. So we might be doing that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Pew's a good dude. He's big.
Part of the story, man.
Yeah. So after we
Well,
leave the
you get it,
dealership,
are you recording a lot of that stuff when it's happening?
so
Is somebody on the camera? Get the camera.
It should
There's
be,
a fire.
but-
Get
Yeah.
the camera.
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
We've been skipping those.
Yeah.
we
It's part of the
long story.
man.
I don't want to get too in depth with it because he's got his own shit going on. But I had to part ways with the
Oh,
cameraman.
you did
So
mention that to me.
there was a lot of things that were not getting done that I wanted to get done.
Mhm.
It's a documentary. You're supposed to document.
Mhm.
Every time something happens, I'm like, just record it. Just record it. Don't freak out. Just record it. Let me handle everything. Because one thing I told him, like, because he was having a hard time with all the breakdowns, and I get it. I totally get it, right? Who wants to ride around with some crazy guy?
Shit,
who
I'd be
wants-
like, this is good content, right? I mean, that's the
That's
mind
the
of
idea,
look
yeah.
at Bo nodding his head, the mind of a production guy or a
Yeah.
cameraman. Like, this is content. Yeah. You're like, yes.
I think he bit off more than he could chew, and so
Yeah.
he ended up going
Get it.
home. And he, and I love the guy. I love him. Even after all this, I'm a little disappointed. Yes, but I love the guy, and I told him, like, your mental health is more important than this fucking tour.
Yeah.
You need to just go home. So he ended up parting ways.
Was there a
and-
point that I know you told me you talked to the board? Was there a point that you were thinking about dropping the bus and then just like
Yeah.
flying to all the cities or stopping completely?
So when the radiator blew,
Add that to the list.
the radiator
You might have been
blew.
able to buy it just like a regular bus.
Oh my god. Yeah. We don't need to talk about any more breakdowns, right? So what ended up happening was the distributor cap was jacked, the rotor was jacked. So we ended up fixing that. But on our way from Phoenix to Albuquerque, we ended up making it we went through Albuquerque and we went south and stopped in Roswell, right? So I want to get some pancakes and stuff. I got to check out some of the Roswell stuff, right?
Bro, you gotta chill outside at night. Make sure it's
I made sure everything was sealed up very well.
All
I
right.
slept with extra boxers on just in case. No ET phoning home here. So our radiator blew in Roswell, right? So like I said, solution based, right? I don't
Yeah.
freak out. His problem was he didn't know how to handle these situations, and instead of breaking out the camera and recording, which is what I wanted him to do, and I said it 100 times, but it just he was done. It was just too much for him, and so I was like, you know what, this is not good for you. You need to go home. So what ended up happening was the radiator blew, and he didn't record. I'm like, okay, well, I got this. So we ended up finding a radiator shop. What had happened was the guys at the auto shop couldn't figure out the fan issue because there's a clutch. There's a left clutch and a right clutch for this fan for this old engine. So it makes the fan spin the correct way. They didn't have the right clutch. They ended up just taking that fan off and putting on an electric fan. And they went through the radiator, which is okay. It's not a bad thing because there's little spaces. But they put these gaps on there. They didn't put a gasket. So it actually broke a hole. It was rubbing, and it rubbed a hole against the radiator and popped it. So the repair guy, like I keep telling you, man, the amount of people who reach out and help us is just, it's amazing. In Roswell, this radiator repair guy, I told him what we were doing and everything. I asked him, I was like, can I help you? I was like, because like I'm trying to get this going, right? If you need help, there's something I could do to help you, let me know. He's like, no, just go ahead. Initially, he's like, yeah, I can do it, but I don't have anybody to pull the radiator. I was like, give me 5 minutes. I ripped that thing out in like 5 minutes. I was like, okay, let's get this done. Because we were trying to get to, we had to get the Midland BJJ. Otherwise, we're going to miss the Midland stop. So we ended up, I pulled it for him. He fixed it in like 20 minutes. Came back out and he handed it to us. He's like, here you go. I was like, okay, how much do we owe you? He's like, it took me 5 minutes. He's like, it's fine. He's like, just take it and go. He's like, get you guys back on the road. So, radiator repair in Roswell, New Mexico. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
So they got us on the road. But then you go back to California. We broke down one night. We ended up sleeping on the side of the road on a exit ramp on a curve because the bus wouldn't start. We couldn't figure it out, and that's when the starter went out. So we had to replace the starter. But we also realized there was a fuel line in the
You
back.
have a whole new bus already.
Dude, it's a 2021
Yes.
Chevy van. So the fuel line in the back was dripping. It was like a piece of nylon. So whatever tubing they used was crap. So I had to replace the tube. We got a fuel pump just in case. I thought that's what it was, but I didn't want to do that because I had to drop the gas tank. So I ended up changing the fuel pump and the starter, and we got going. But while I was working on that, some guy just randomly stopped. He's like, hey, because on the front of our bus, it says Warrior's Next Adventure, Fighting Veteran Suicide. And on the front, it's got like Hulk Hogan lettering that says Warrior Wagon. I'm going to change that to Struggle Bus. But
Struggle Bus.
this guy came up to, he's like, my dad was a Vietnam veteran. He killed himself. And he's like, I love what you guys are doing. And he ends up going and buying us these giant chorizo burritos because it was breakfast time. So he bought us breakfast, and he went and bought our fuel pump for us and a fuel filter because I forgot I had to put on a fuel filter too.
Add that to the list.
So this guy bought that for us, brought it to us, and like just out of the generosity, he just sees these guys working on a bus.
I'm all about beating a dead horse. So you could have probably like rented an RV for what you spent now, right? At this point.
So again, let me just emphasize that everybody knew what they were donating to.
Yeah.
And I explained the situation, and everybody chose to donate to this because they believe in it, right?
Believe in the Warrior Wagon, bro.
But we're over $10,000 on this thing.
Oh shit!
Could have just bought a brand new RV.
Let me fast forward to something for a second because I'm curious. What is the vision for where this is going to air? Is there a vision of like, is this going to be free somewhere? Are you going to try to like
it's getting on
put
Netflix?
It on YouTube, on
Calling
Netflix?
it out right now. Netflix, baby.
Out of curiosity, have you put any thought into any of that yet?
So what I want to do is, I've been getting B-roll at every single gym. I've been trying to get at least 30 to 40 minutes of B-roll.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm doing an interview with somebody on that B-roll as well. My goal is to do like an episodic series on YouTube.
Okay.
So every gym I want to have their own episode.
Okay.
So what we can do is we can cut an episode of us breaking down.
every episode at
And
this
then-
point
and
should
then
have at
getting
least
to
one
the gym.
breakdown.
Yeah, pretty much. Almost every single
Be like, let's
day.
tune in to see where he breaks down today.
I know, right? Today on Warriors Next
Right.
Breakdown.
Yeah.
So I want to do an episodic series so we can have like a little comedy stuff because I'm a smartass. I mean, you guys know that.
You are?
I'm what?
Huh?
Let me write that in crayon for you.
I might lick it. You know what I mean? It's crayons. Not bad.
I want to know. We're going to come back to the
Sure.
crayon thing. I want to know about the crayon thing right now. What's this thing with the crayons and Marines?
Because crayons or Marines are a little slow and they need to write things in crayon to understand, but they're so stupid they just need the crayons. So if you ever
see how Jeremy's looking at him, right?
his mouth is watering.
I know. I'm gonna show him a
Might
nice,
be
I'm a
breaking
nice
down
rear
and by
naked choke.
himself.
It's always funny. There's a meme where it's like Bobby Hill putting a piece of paper on the window of like a school, and then he says, "If those kids could read, they'd be really upset." I put something on there. It's something about like Marines and crayons, and it was God, what was it? It was something making fun of Marines or something like that. And so my comment was, if these Marines could read this, they'd be so upset. And that thing got shared like 5,000 times.
I didn't know you made it.
Yeah. So it was pretty good.
It's fucking awesome.
But yeah, so my goal for this is to put it on YouTube for the series, right? And that's to prep for the documentary itself, right?
Okay. All right.
So
Nice.
I'm going to edit the series myself. I do video editing. I'm not fantastic. So, Bo and I had talked a little bit about, getting some help here and there. So if I need pointers and stuff, I'm probably going to reach out to you, dude. But for the most part, what I plan on doing is making the first few episodes myself, releasing them and seeing what people think. I want people to actually say like, do you enjoy this? Is this something you'll continue to watch? And if it is, then I'll just keep going with it. The documentary itself, I have a few guys that I've talked to about editing, and I have a specific idea. So like when I'm doing my interviews, I'm piecing the documentary together in my head. I just need help getting this on this. So my goal is Netflix. I'm big on manifesting your future.
Yeah.
I've decided that I will get this on Netflix, and not because of the money. I mean, documentaries make like 50,000 or something like that. Personally, nobody's making that money, but it's going to go back to the nonprofit, right? So if Netflix puts us on there, the Warriors Next Adventure gets like 50 grand, right? And I promised We Defy, they get 10% of this. Okay. So I said 10% after the tour, but I'm, saying it for the first time. Whatever we make from the documentary, we're going to give 10% to We Defy because I truly believe in their mission. And they've helped us out so much with using their athletes. Obviously, Jeremy coming out with us, and Tyler, and
I want to tell you one place where I think that you're wrong, though. Don't just put it out and see what happens, because with YouTube, things tend to pick up steam.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a week, sometimes it's a month. Our episodes, usually it takes like a week or two, and then it just gets shared more, and then it picks up steam, and it gets rolling faster and faster.
Yeah.
So don't think that.
What are you, like a marketing guy or something?
Just don't sell yourself short. Don't go, well, I put 2 out there and it didn't get that much. You just gotta depend on your network to share it.
Sure.
We will. We defy. We will.
My main thing is, man, is I'm very hard on myself, and if I'm going through all of this, I want to give the best that I can,
Mm-hmm.
and I want these stories to be impactful. Like I talked to a couple of your guys today, and I told them, we talked about some pretty serious shit. Some stuff that they're like, I don't talk about this. But what I told them is, listen, when you share your story about some of the struggles that you've been through, friends that you've lost, like Brandon shared a great story today.
My brother, Brandon,
Brandon,
the other one.
Yeah. So he shared an amazing story today about losing a brother, and he was there. And then the same thing happened to him recently, shortly after. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I want you to hear it on the documentary. But he talked about that guilt that he has, and every single day he wishes it could have been him. And so one thing that I want to preface for, there's a lot of veterans who listen to this stuff, is, that survivor's guilt is something that many of us go through. And our families have a hard time understanding it because we wish that we could replace them with us. It's not because we want to die. I don't want to die, and I have my own shit going on where my head, tells me that I'm not as good as I think I am. And, I still struggle with depression. And this nonprofit is essentially my therapy, because I always tell people that if you can talk to somebody and share with them some information that they may need to hear, sometimes you're talking to yourself and you don't even realize it. So you take some of that and you bring it inside. So what I told him is, just because you have that feeling of survivor's guilt, you wish it could have been you. A lot of veterans get tricked into thinking that they're suicidal, when really all you want to do is you want your friends to be alive again. So you transition over to making it sound like, I wish I was in their place, when really I wish they were still alive.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah. So that's some of the stuff that we're going to talk about in this. And I decided that throughout the documentary, I'm going to be narrating it, because there's a lot of shit that's not being said, that's being communicated, but not being said. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure to hit a lot of points as we go around, right? It's kind of like a Mike Rowe kind of thing. I love Mike Rowe. He's like one of my heroes. If I ever got to meet that guy, I love Dirty Jobs.
Dirty Jobs.
Yeah. I love him. I love what he does, a lot of the stuff he does. But I want it to be kind of like that, because essentially it's going to be a journey. Follow me on this journey. This is what we're doing. And we're going to share some just amazing story. I've cried like 30 times in this tour, man. Not even during interviews, but side conversations. There's a lot of conversations that I've had on this tour that are not going to be in the documentary because some veterans don't feel comfortable talking about this on camera.
I get it.
I don't give a shit about footage, right? I need it, yes, of course, but my main goal in this nonprofit is getting veterans talking. If I lose footage because I got a vet who really wants to share something, but I'm like, no, we need it on camera. Sorry. Who the hell am I, right?
It takes the heart out of it, and
it really does.
That inspiration that keeps you moving to want to do this, and that's huge. So,
yeah, and I want people to share. The whole premise of this nonprofit is to get veterans talking about those things that we don't talk about. Finding the right person to share these things, because I often say, if you're in a ship going down the sea, every time something happens, a new trauma, right? You box that shit up, you throw it in the hull instead of dealing with it. What's going to happen to that ship?
It's going to sink.
It's going to sink. So you have to share some of that stuff. You have to unbox all those things. You always hear about unpacking, right? You don't often hear about repacking and reorganizing. So you have to think about that. I often say, when I give some of my speeches, I actually have my first keynote. We talked about me trying to be a keynote speaker. I have my first paid event on the 26th.
Really?
I'm super happy.
Congratulations.
It's
right
online.
Memorial Day.
And I told him, I'm like, listen, I'm in a van traveling the country. I'll do it, but it's not going to be the greatest setting. So it's like 3,500
perfect
people.
setting.
And I'm like, oof, That's the biggest
For,
crowd
for
I've
who?
ever had.
Can you share?
It's a financial company.
Okay.
So they're doing like a team building thing, and so they wanted somebody to speak on inspiration, like something inspirational. So I'm giving my speech in my 6 principles. So
do you guys know what inspiration actually means?
the actual definition? I mean, I know
Like
what
it
it
means
is, but
like
no.
to breathe life into something.
That's the actual definition.
Yeah.
Bo went.
Yeah, it means to
I
breathe.
thought he was taking a hit.
Like to breathe life. So I just say that because like inspiration is kind of like thrown around, kind of like motivation, whatever. But like if somebody truly feels inspired by something that you said or did, it's literally you breathed life into them. So
I mean, that's
powerful.
the goal for a lot of us. I mean, me and Jeremy have had many conversations on the. I've had a week to hang out with this guy, under the bus, manufacturing our own exhaust.
Bastard.
Under the
Oh yeah,
bus,
we
not
didn't
the
even
covers.
say we had to cut off our exhaust and manufacture a new one. We did it in O'Reilly's parking lot. So high five, good job.
Hey, see, Marines are useful
So-
sometimes, bro.
Jeremy, what's your story? How did give us your your point of view on how you got involved with this
So
and your background?
yeah,
tell us
so-
as much as you can.
My jiu-jitsu started with the foundation that I work with. It's Dave Reaver Foundation. They bring out vets and they do something similar to this, just a little bit different. And Dave's son Matt, who runs the Texas location, he does jiu-jitsu and he just got promoted to brown belt. It's really awesome.
Yes.
And he's like, he's seen my struggles and where I've been through, and all the survivor's guilt and everything else that's gone with it. It's like, hey, you want to roll? I'm like, what the heck does roll mean? Like, what do you?
I don't like
This
sushi, bro.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. Let's go roll. And so we went over and we did our first roll, and he's the one that actually started me getting into jiu-jitsu, which is amazing.
Awesome.
And I reached out to Weedify, and I talked with Keely, and she talked with TJ and everything.
Did somebody put you onto them? Or you found them yourself?
Yeah. So the gym that's actually down the road from where I live, they're the ones that got me in contact and said, hey, Weedify has a great program, and they told me a story behind it. And so I've been training with Weedify since January, even though January, I believe it was 5th, I had a rib pop out for the first time.
Oh, hey,
out of
welcome to the
cartilage.
party, pal.
Yeah, so that was about a month.
Coming off a rib injury.
Yeah. So the pain in that, and we're talking about fight for what you want now, or fight against what you don't want later, and you want to fight through that. You want to go and roll and everything, but the whole jiu-jitsu thing behind it has opened my eyes of not being scared about going into crowds, being able to talk with, interact with other people, and not have to cower and be like, I want to be in my bubble. And now we have the kids inside of it, and my wife is doing it as well.
Yeah, your kids just won the tournament.
Made
and
it a
yeah, they
family
did
thing.
great.
That's
My
great.
son, he won 3
Yeah.
golds, and then my
Today?
daughter
Yeah.
won 2 silvers in their first
Hell
one.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Hell
it
yeah.
was amazing. And talking about depression and everything, you sit there and like last night, I'm not going to steal your joy out of it and stuff, but there's the little things in life that we miss. And we're so focused on what we want to do in the future, and how big you want to get stuff, but we don't step back and look and see, hey, when my kids come over and they give me a hug and they say, I love you, Dad, you don't think of it as anything, because you're just like, all right, yeah, whatever. But then you reflect on it, and you miss that time to take that joy. People with PTS, I'm not going to say the D, because it's not that hat that we wear, but that feeling of emotions, and having happy and sad, and having joy and fulfillment, and being able to see it, it diminishes whenever you go through that with depression. And so, not to get into a sob story with that and everything, but jiu-jitsu has honestly gotten me out of my bubble and my fear zone about everything else. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff in dealing with, but it's starting that breakthrough of one step at a time, fighting that I don't want to be by myself. I don't want to miss the little things in life, and see my kids growing, and having the experiences in life, because life is short, the way that we look at it. And as a Marine, you want to be the best that you can be in anything, because Marines are badasses. So
I mean, of course,
yeah.
I mean,
we're kind of a big
It's
deal.
no Air Force, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
And yeah, so the reason why I actually reached out with the Dave Reaver Foundation is I was telling Nick about it. One of my self-motivators, one of my senior Marines, his name's Matthew Brinker. Most badass dude in the world. You know, he always went above and beyond and everything. He was a Marine Corps scout or advanced scout sniper. He left the Marine Corps, you know, did a bunch of deployments. He went and joined the Navy, became a Navy SEAL sniper. And then he had gotten out. And what broke me down is he committed suicide. And it was, I don't remember how long it was whenever he got out, but he had shot himself. And I was telling Nick about it. Whenever everybody went to his funeral, you know, we looked at, you know, we had all the hogs tooths out there, you know, SEALs stamping in their pens and everything, their tridents. And you look, and how many of those guys that flew all over the country could have talked to him in that one point? You know, because we don't want to share our emotions. You know, one is being a man, being a Marine, you know, being a badass. We don't want to show that weakness because, you know, that's not something that we do. You know, just like with jiu-jitsu, you get put in a headlock. What are you going to do? I'm just going to sit there because if I don't show pain, he's going to go for something else. I mean, that's my trick, but you know, it's something that's powerful. You know, you
don't do it too long.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you know, so I mean, I'll show you all the pictures of it later and stuff. But there was all those guys that traveled all across the country, and one phone call or text, you know, just to speak your mind. I mean, we've dealt with veterans and stuff, you know, with all the various foundations I work with, and like with Nick, and I mean, your buddies and stuff. I mean, you're a bond. It's just like jiu-jitsu. I mean, you're a brotherhood in it, and you can reach out to somebody for techniques or whatever, and they're gonna spoon feed it to you. I mean, it could be right and it could be wrong, but at least you're talking to them. You can disrupt that mind,
and also like the talking, like I said when we were speaking earlier, it's like once we get like all that aggression out, we just become like cool, and we sit on the walls and just start talking.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you earlier, like there's been plenty of times where me and other vets were just sitting there like just bawling on the mats. We're like in our own little corner, and it's just like just comes out.
Yeah.
I told you one of the best memories I have from the first gym when you used to come in and train was sitting around, and I won't go into it, but you had a very different mindset at that time about the military and what you had gone through. You were angry. You were angry. Can I say that?
Yeah.
You were angry, and when you were telling the stories, you were very angry on, you know, why we were there, and you know, was it about oil, and you know.
Yeah, I was super angry. You know, since we're talking about, you know, our friends committing suicide, it's like I was very angry because I came out, and you know, we didn't lose any guys over there. You know, thank goodness, right? But I remember being in my apartment one day, and I get a call from one of our guys, right? And he's like, yo, he's like, did you know Simmons killed himself 2 years ago? And I just started bawling because it's when I just started the Combat Hippies, right? And we were like a couple months into it, already did our first show. And here we are, like we have these shirts that said post-traumatic stress with it crossed out, and it had growth on there. And, you know, here we are telling the community about this, and we're like the champions against veteran suicide. And it's like one of my boys fucking killed himself like right under our watch. And he didn't say anything. The last thing, Simmons was always like a goofball, right? He's always a goofball. So I remember when he got out, because he got out after me, he kept like reaching out. And he's like, yo, he's like, the government this and the government that, like, you know, they're watching me, like all kinds of shit. I'm like, Simmons, shut the fuck up. Like, I never took him serious, like whatever. And then all of a sudden the messages stopped, but I'm like, it's just Simmons being Simmons. And then 2 years later, that's when I found out. And losing a guy in combat, you know, it sucks, especially if you like witness it, right? But like, we survived all of that just to come back home and lose a guy here.
Yeah.
That was so much harder to deal with.
Yeah, it's the ones we lose back home are the hardest ones.
How do you get those guys? How do you get that guy to reach out? Like you said, it's very hard for us to admit that there's a weakness.
The mission. This is why I love what you're doing so much. And it's like the authenticity comes out. It's like, it's not the money, it's the mission, the mission. That focus on the mission is why you continue to just go through breakdown after breakdown after breakdown and just keep fucking going. Right. And if you think about our military experience, right, the reason why it's like not all of us got along, right? But the reason why the primary whatever the fuck about leadership is mission accomplishment, then troop welfare, is because when you have that hyper focus on the mission, you don't focus on the bullshit. right? You're able to get the mission accomplished by any means, right? So I forgot what the fuck I was talking about, but you get what I'm saying.
I was asking, how
philosophical
do you
and
get
shit.
how do you get that? How do you make sure that a guy like Simmons,
Oh,
you know,
this.
reaching out?
this.
Yeah,
So
this, the
but
most,
it's got to be like, how do you get them? Yeah, because if he's over there and he's not reaching out to you,
Oh.
and maybe he doesn't know about Warriors Next, how do you help that guy? What do we or other people that aren't having that issue at that moment? How do we help?
I have an idea. Oh, you go
so
ahead. I have an
so
idea.
what's the most basic thing? Like when you go to 29 Palms, like with CACs and everything, what are you always told to go with? When you're going to the restroom or
Oh,
going,
battle buddy.
a battle buddy. And you have your guys that are in your unit, whether you like them or not, like everybody had a good friend. One of my great friends in Clay Newberry, he committed suicide after he had gotten out. And he actually committed suicide the day that I flew into Springfield, Missouri. I was going through MP school at that time. And the night that I flew in, I was like, I'm going to text him and tell him I'm here, you know, because we were great. We were roommates and everything. And then I think it was that next morning, I tried to text him. Same thing. No text back. I'm like, okay, this guy's just being a D-bag or something, you know, okay. And then I found out a couple days later he committed suicide the day that, or he OD'd, you know, the night that I came in. And, you know, having that survival skill, again, is if I could have just reached out to him and not be like, I'll just text him in the morning and whatnot, you know, it could have saved his life. And that's what I believe. But having a battle buddy, you know, whether it's in your unit or guys that you roll with and everything, that's even better with jiu-jitsu. I mean, you're right there. You can talk about the stuff.
When you guys get out, though, do you guys sometimes kind of like, I'm just glad to be out and don't want to necessarily talk to each other? How closely,
there's a
like,
certain point of that.
how closely did you guys, each of you, keep in communication with those guys that you served with?
The thing about it is, like, when we're serving, right, you have orders, right? You have to show up at this place at this time. Your schedule is laid out for you, right? Your whole life is dictated for you. But and we start that when we first get in, and then that behavior is reinforced for however long that you've been in there. The issue, right, with the transition period is that there's not a proper teaching of how to become a civilian again. Right, how to dictate your own fucking schedule. It's a week. All it is this is how you dress for a job interview. This is how you get your benefits from the VA.
They don't talk about this is how you process your mental health by getting out of the military.
No,
none of that.
And they don't tell us. And I mean, I think it's like it's probably assumed, but they don't tell you. You're not gonna have people readily there to lean on. You're not gonna have a sergeant or whoever the fuck. You're not gonna have your battle buddy.
You can't just reach out to your first sergeant and be like, "Hey, how do I do this?"
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I wouldn't reach out to first sergeant at all, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But
fuck that dude.
Well, see,
you know what I mean?
The one thing that I always tell people is, like, you know, when you first get out, man, life is rough. And I actually talked to one of your guys today. I was telling him, I asked him, how often do you talk about this story? He's like, I don't. I was like, so no, this was a couple days ago. I've had a lot of similar conversations. So a guy who's still in the military. This was back in Twin Wolves up in Harker Heights. Great conversation with a guy who just recently lost somebody in his platoon 2 weeks ago. And he's sitting here telling me this story. And you could tell he's very good at hiding emotions.
Of course.
I can see when people are hiding it. And I'm usually going to say things here and there to drive it out because I want them to cry. Because what you're doing is you're truly releasing that pain, right? That pain usually comes off in tears. You know, the true pain, right? Anger is a mask. All anger is really doing is trying to push away that sadness, right?
Oh, I know that.
So we all do pretty fucking well. So when you actually get to that point where you're starting to release that much, where that much pressure is coming out, and then boom, it comes out in tears, that's when you're like, fuck yeah, I got them, right? Because it's not the fact that I want them to cry. I want them to feel it. You know, like we talked about today, you can't truly heal from this stuff. Talking about it, yes, good. You have to feel it.
Yes, you have to
so
feel
I told him, I was like, you know, the more and more you keep burying this shit, it's going to haunt you when you get out. I was like, your military service is ending, I think he said like a year or two. I was like, if you don't start now, it's going to be really difficult when you get out. I was like, so I want you to fucking call me the day that you get out and let's have a conversation.
And that's the answer to your question. It's mentorship.
Yes.
Right? It's like the veterans who's been in the game for a little while and those new guys coming out, it's just like, yo, we have to mentor. Like all the veterans listening to this, and it's like mentorship is the key, because you can. It's just like
continue to
people
watch each other's backs.
Yeah. And it's like people checking into a new unit. Like this is the
It's
first
like a sergeant
div.
taking care of the privates.
Yeah. You know, you come in, you on board, and you know the NCOs come and they grab you and they make you check in or whatever. But then you got like that corporal or even like a senior lance corporal that will take you and like show you the ropes, right? They're not showing us the ropes of how to deal with the civilian life. And one thing that keeps coming up, right? The number one symptom of PTSD is depression, right? And one of my mentors shared this with me, so I'm gonna ask you guys, right? What's the opposite of depression?
Happiness.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
I want to say happiness,
which is a common answer.
Happiness or
Yeah,
joy,
joy.
but I feel like it's.
All right.
you're gonna
So,
tell me I'm wrong.
right. So, what did you say your guy was doing? Right. He was masking it. Right. He was depressing his emotions. Right. So the the opposite of depression is expression. Right. You have to express it somehow. You have to feel it and just let it out. Right. You don't care for the tears. Right. But you know, once those tears come out, it's felt. It's expressed.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got that from my mentor, Elliot Host. He's like my big brother.
So one thing that I also tell people too is environment is everything.
For sure.
So the first principle in my 6 principles is who do you have, right? So I always tell people to stop and look at who you have yourself surrounded by. You're going to have shooting stars who light up the dark skies, and then you're going to have your black clouds who bring you down, and they literally they bet against you. Everybody has one of those two people in there, right? Everybody has the people in the middle who are just like the social friends. So you have to really think about what is your environment, right? So when you get out, you can choose to be many different things. You're essentially reborn into a new life. You can be whoever you want when you get out of the military, right? And I always ask people, and I've been wanting to ask you guys this question. So I'm gonna ask each one of you individually. I want to hear your answer, and I want to see your reaction, because the reaction that I usually get to this answer makes me smile, because it's usually the same thing. When it comes to your environment, the game is you have a pot of boiling water, you have a potato and an egg. Right? The egg starts off soft, fragile, and it gets hard, thick. And you have a potato. The potato starts off hard, and when you boil it, it gets soft. Which would you rather be?
Ooh, damn, you're going deep.
Don't think too much into it. Just basic answer.
I mean, I don't think that I ever want to end soft, so I think I would want to be the egg. I think we all start off soft, and then you become harder as you grow.
The egg, because egg in Spanish, huevos, means balls.
I love it.
That's a Drew answer. That's a Drew answer right
Drew
there.
Phoenix quotable, baby.
And so this is post-deployment or post-military?
Just whatever.
So I would say in my side, looking out of it, I'm going to have to go potato. I want to go from being that badass hard Marine and be that soft, affectionate dad and husband.
So, I want to ask you too, what would you rather be?
The egg.
Okay. So one thing I always ask people, what was presented? People don't realize that.
Shit.
Why not be the water? Because the water is what's changing. The water is the environment. The water is changing the potato. The water is changing that egg. And what it's doing is it's changing it and altering the state. Right?
Bastard.
That question wasn't marine proof, bro. We gotta talk about this.
I'm drawing crap next time. So essentially what it's saying is, when you always have the choice to be the environment, right? So the mentors, right? When you were doing your speaking, with the work you're doing with the Reaver Foundation, and this kid's just a bag of fucking gold here with a lot of things that we've talked about, right? So but no, like I've learned a lot. So every time I do this with veterans, I'm learning as well as trying to spread knowledge, right? I'm trying to be the water. I don't want to be the potato anymore. I don't want to be the egg. I don't want to be swayed by my environment. So that includes internally. So people don't realize that you can actually control how you feel, right? Rob Frisbee, one of my troopers, I miss that guy so much. He was one of my troopers a couple of years ago. He had cancer and it was terminal. He knew he was dying. I was going through a divorce, my second one.
Third time's a charm,
I'm
baby.
good. So I was going through divorce, and I was being a sappy little bitch, and I was dealing with it, but I was getting to the point where I started to realize that, you know what? I'm going to let myself be sad. For this portion of time, I'm going to be okay with being sad because I need to deal with these emotions, right? So I was dealing with it the way I believe you should. And I'm vocal about my mental state on Facebook because everybody on Facebook is like, oh, look at this cool thing I did. Look at this cool thing. Look at this amazing thing. I'm like, you know what? Today I don't feel very good. And a lot of people are like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, don't talk about that.
Feelings, bro?
It's like, the reason why I do that is not for you, not for the judgmental person who's going to give me shit. It's for the person who messages me or calls me like, bro, I've been feeling the same way. And I don't do it so I can complain or be a bitch. I do it to be open and to be vulnerable, to share my feelings. Like, hey, listen, this is how I'm feeling. So Rob calls me up. He's like, hey, man, how are you doing? I was like, I'm dealing with some shit. He's like, man, I've been paying attention to you. I'm looking out for it. I was like, dude, you're fucking dying. Like, why are you calling me asking if I'm okay? And I just felt like such a pussy. And I was like, I'm just dealing with the thing my way. And, I'm just trying to go through it. He's like, listen, I want you to remember something. And he told me, he's like, yeah, I'm dying. He's like, I'm going to be dead soon. He died like 2 months later. Fucking just getting emotional out of nowhere. He said to me, you choose how you feel. It's absolutely a choice. I say often with my nonprofit, one of my best quotes for this nonprofit that I enjoy is, you can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control your reaction. So by controlling your reactions, you essentially become the water, because you are the one that's controlling your reactions on the internal side. Because a lot of people just act on a whim and, they get destructive. They drink, they fucking punch through walls, they do a bunch of dumb shit, right? But if you really stop, you take a step back and you really process that, what's happening to me right now? Not what's going on in the situation, but what's happening to me. And you actually start to understand, like, okay, I can deal with this a few ways. I can get angry. What does that solve? Nothing. I can react momentarily. Okay, that's good, because then you get that frustration out. When I'm driving, I react all the time. Motherfucker. Like, I'm not afraid to, like, react right away. But as soon as I let it out, I'm done. Because you don't need to. You always choose how you react, right? When my wife left me, I was sad, and I let myself be sad because I was choosing to process it that way. But you have to understand, how long are you going to let that control you? Are you going to make a change, or are you going to say, okay, I think it's time? You have to choose when your time is up. When your time is up to start healing, because that process is you. I said something to one of your guys today, and he's like, Drew is, I wouldn't be here without Drew. I wouldn't be who I am without Drew. I wouldn't be who I am. So he speaks very highly of you. But I told him, I was like, one thing I want you to understand: who's the one that chose to go to jiu-jitsu? Who's the one that chose to show up? Who's the one that chose to start speaking? It's you. We're just a tool. You're a jiu-jitsu coach. You're a mentor. You will always be a mentor to your students. You're a tool. Jiu-jitsu is a tool, right? We don't heal unless we choose to heal, unless you choose how you feel. And you start moving forward and making those growths, the post-traumatic growth. And that potato, the water, and the egg saying, there's a lot of people that it just blows them away because nobody sees the water as an option. We don't have to be swayed by our environment. We can be the environment. And if you're surrounded by a negative environment, you need to leave that environment. When it comes to...
I hope I'm stealing that.
Go for it. I'm all for it, man.
Stealing like an artist, baby.
I initially heard
gold.
the potato and the egg thing, and there was never a water for the answer. It was always the potato or the egg. Potato or egg. It's like, well, what the fuck about the water? The water's the one's changing them.
Yeah.
So why can't I be the water? So when I chose to start...
Bruce Lee. Yeah. No, but it's like, when you're telling me, I'm hearing, okay, like you control your internal environment, right? And you also have a choice. Like, okay, you're controlling your internal environment, and you could choose to be the egg, or you could choose to be the potato, right? Like you said, hard and soft, right? Or what we gave was like soft and hard. And I often, like, when I'm mentoring like young men, I always tell them, like, yo, to me, like, I ask them like what they think an alpha male is, right? And they'll give me like, like the dude with the biggest muscles, got the most girls, da da da. And I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, right? But understand, to me, that like a true expression of an alpha male, he's a dick, right? It's somebody that knows when to be tender, when to be soft, and when to be hard. Because if you think of that alpha wolf,
like an actual dick,
like an
That took me a
actual dick,
second.
right? Because think of us. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
You
usually
gotta
think
be a
about
dick,
that
bro.
stuff.
Because I threw you off. You're like, what, dick? Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Because think about it, right? Like you're like a woman, for example, right? If it's like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not gonna go PC. Look, if it's like a woman, she wants you to be a dick. She wants you to be soft when you need to be soft and hard when you want to be hard. Imagine fucking walking around like this. You're gonna be bumping into shit, knocking shit off the table, right? Nobody wants that, right? And like with your children, you can't be so fucking hard all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you got to know when to just chill.
That's one thing with veterans that we struggle with so much.
Yeah.
Because ignorant is feelings. Again, we don't know how to dictate joy. We don't know how it is to feel that and how to know what it's like to have that anger and expressed onto you. And having little bits, training with the stuff, you can start, bringing those emotions back into your life and start expressing them. And it's, yeah.
That's funny because you yelled at a kid today at training. She was going to roll with the girl.
Mm-hmm.
You yelled at him, but at the end of the class, you were hugging him.
Yeah.
Like, I saw you do that today.
Yeah, because that's one thing you have to do as a leader. Yeah, it's hard to know. So yeah, because that kid in particular, he was in our kids program. He got a little big, and he's always had a little bit of a thing with like anger. Like he's very intense. And when he got bigger than most of the kids, he started like to really go hard on them.
Hulk smash.
Yeah, Hulk smash them, right? So he was going with one of our girls. I call her the triangle queen. Because she just gets triangles from everywhere. Then I show her some stuff. It's awesome. I can't wait to show her heel hooks. She comes up. All right, I got a foot fetish. Anyways, so so the kid, right? The kid, one day he was smashing the triangle queen. So I was like, all right. I was like, Ian, come here. And I did the same thing he did to her. I did it to him, right? And because I wanted it to be like a coaching moment, right? And then eventually, we got him into the adults class. Now he's in adults class. Can't really do that too much, right? So we've been working on him with it. But today, there's a new girl. She just started last week. And I look over and he's like jumping on her back and like trying to choke her. I said, Ian! I was like, stop. Right? And he's like, And then I grabbed him, I reprimanded him right there. Like, yo, don't do that. And, I told him why he shouldn't be doing that. And then I let him roll. And then afterwards, I grabbed him and I hugged him like, Ian, listen. And, I broke it down like, yo, you can't be so hard. Jiu-jitsu is about being hard and soft. And you got to have the control enough to know when to be hard and when to be soft. A brand new person, you don't smash them like that. I was like, do you like it when I do that to you? He's like, no. I was like, okay. And then after that, I had a roll with him and another white belt. No.
2-on-1. 2-on-1.
And
you
my son has the
both
same
of them.
thing.
Yeah.
My daughter has the confidence issue. That's why I put her in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Super, just the sweetest kid I've ever met. And I absolutely love this kid. She was actually at Shibaro's gym when we went there on the 9th. Probably the most emotional I've ever been sharing my story. Because the first time ever, my daughter was sitting right next to me. And while I was sharing my story, talking about, finding yourself after the military, she's sitting right there, and I'm sharing a story about how I almost took my own life. How I tried to shoot myself in the fucking head. And my kid was sitting at home, both my kids. And it wasn't enough for me. And, when we talk about being so hard on our kids and everything like that, it's just, it took me so long to actually like my kids again. I feel like a dick for that. I can't control it. I can't change the past, but when I first got out, I didn't like my kids. I didn't like being around them. They didn't bring me joy. They didn't make me happy. I just hated my life. And then that moment, just everything changed. And then my daughter sat there looking at me. And then some guy shared a post shortly after that. He actually won the Warriors Next Adventure Gi. And he shared a post, talking about me sharing my story. He's like, his daughter was sitting right next to him, staring up into his eyes, with, just admiring him. And I just... That was a lot for me because
she hadn't heard that story before at all.
We
ever?
talked a little bit about it, but the reason why it made me so emotional was like it brought me back to that moment, and I felt those feelings again. And like I talk about being emotional, right? I'm not afraid to show emotion. I'm not afraid to cry. I'm not afraid to get this point because I can probably choke out and punch, beat the shit out of most people who would make fun of me. Because most
You hear that, Bo?
Hey, but
You
the
hear that,
people
Bo?
that make fun of you deserve it. So let's
Yeah.
go. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers deserve it.
But like most jiu-jitsu guys, most guys that are capable of stuff like that, they understand, showing that emotion is a good thing. And so I'm sitting here trying to get through this speech and I have to actually stop because in my mind, I'm back at that moment and I'm talking myself out of it, and when that moment happened, when I tried, it was shortly after that I decided that I didn't think that person existed that could have talked me out of it. Out of all my battle buddies that I had, I didn't think that person existed. So I decided to manifest that person and create that person in my brain and become that person. And so that's where all the studies and all the research came from. And then I started doing polls on Facebook and everything. Polling veterans is the worst thing in the world.
You usually get random dick pics.
Dude, every one of them are like, you're a fucking idiot. Your study's stupid. Like, what do you work for, Hillary? I was like, wait, what? So I did a lot of polls and everything. I wanted to understand. Like, I wanted to know what were the issues. What were the main things we struggle with? Sense of purpose, camaraderie. Something I've actually learned on this tour, which Gregory from Fargo BJJ was the first to say it, is accountability. We hold each other accountable. But we also need mission adventure. And then financial relationships. I mean, I'm the divorce king. I'm probably not the person to talk to about relationships, but
I had a gunny when we first checked in. He always used to say, he's like, watch out for the answers. The finances and the romances. The answers, baby. He's like, they'll get you every time.
Yeah. So I started realizing those are the things. Those are the main things, right? And I started to think more and more like jiu-jitsu literally takes care of all of those.
Yeah.
It hurts the finance because jiu-jitsu is expensive.
Until you learn how to make money from jiu-jitsu.
There you go. Like a podcast or,
running a gym.
So it's jiu-jitsu takes care of all those. So camaraderie.
Or Gordon Ryan, who's like a millionaire.
Yeah.
Were you
different.
shocked when he said he makes millions of dollars from his instructionals?
I wasn't shocked because I saw
a month.
the game.
Did he say
he made $1 million last month or some shit like
$1 million?
that.
He's making $1 million.
I mean,
Mostly
Joe
from
Rogan said he
instructionals.
may be the best ever. So
No gi, yeah,
he's-
sure.
no. So jiu-jitsu takes care of all those things. Camaraderie, first off. Look at us. Maybe none of us would have met if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu. For sure. I'm
None of
say
us
for sure.
would've- Yeah, no.
Because obviously I'm in Minnesota, he's in Texas, you guys are in Florida.
And your beard scares me, so I probably
a beard, hippie hair, inside of a scary
beard
van that
scares
keeps
me,
breaking
so-
down.
I know, right? Long hair, beard. It's like, hey, hop into my
Once the
van,
hair's
bro.
I just wanna
top
go on
or
record
covering
to
the
say
bottom
that,
lip, I'm done with you.
I just want to go on record and say that the beard doesn't scare me.
So it handles that camaraderie aspect, and the blood, sweat, and tears. We suffer together. We fight together. We roll together. We go to tournaments together, right? You guys ever obviously been to tournaments with your team? Dude, when your teammate wins, it's like,
That's awesome.
I have
get
to-
more nervous.
I have
when
to. Did you saw that video when we were at Art to Suave?
mm-mm.
Okay,
you're
so
slapping the mat.
yeah, so I'm in coach's corner, right, and the other coach is there, and it's 2 white belts, right? One of my white belts, one of his white belts. You would have thought that they were at White Belt Worlds the way that we had that place on fire. I'm sitting there screaming, "Let's go!" Fucking slapping the mat and shit.
Yeah,
the whole
you gotta
team's
look at it on
behind
his
me, fucking
Instagram. I
going
was like, where the hell
nuts.
is he?
Right, their team's going nuts. We're going nuts, and it's just like the white belts are there. They're going at it, and it was like, man, it was a good experience because it's like their first tournament. It was awesome.
But see, what that does too is like when you're out there competing, right?
Yeah.
When you train jiu-jitsu, you have a team. You're together, right? When you go out there, you are physically, you are solo. You're by yourself.
Yeah.
Mentally, you have your whole team behind you. Especially even if they're not there.
Yeah.
The ones that are there are usually screaming and yelling. You get that energy, right? That energy helps you.
Yeah.
When I was a fighter, anytime the more people I had at the crowd watching me, the more energized I felt because A, I didn't want to let them down. B, they're there to watch a show, so I'm going to perform, right? Like when I won Fight of the Night in 2016 against Yama, we beat the shit out of each other.
Nice.
So a lot of people don't know my fight name was Princess.
It's perfect.
All I got to say is that it started
Why?
with a long night of alcohol in Brazil. We'll just leave it at that.
Whoa.
We'll let your
I want
minds
to hear
wander
that.
on
I
that.
want to hear that story.
So my
Princess.
fight name was Princess, right?
So they had announced you as Nick Princess Ron.
Princess Nick Ron, yeah.
Princess Nick Ron.
Bro, I love it.
Great. So our professor down in Brazil, his name is Rafael. We call him Rafael Simpson because the back of his head's really long, looks like Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
Great guy, awesome dude. I love him. I really hope he moves up to Minnesota because he's talking about it. So we're staying in his bachelor suite above the gym, and so we go there and we show up. I'm going through a divorce at this time, my first one, and I was not handling it right. And she was constantly texting me, and I gotta answer her. Like, no, I don't. My coach kept telling me, he's like, dude, leave her alone. Just turn your phone off. You're on vacation in Brazil. So I was like, okay, and slowly started to get away from that, but I was a heavy drinker at the time. I wouldn't say I was alcoholic anymore, but when I drank, I liked to drink a lot.
And party, bro.
Yeah, so we'd stay up till like 3 o'clock in the morning eating picanha, which, oh my God, if you've never had picanha in Brazil, whoo, it's amazing.
I could imagine.
So we'd be eating picanha, chicken hearts and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of Brazilian meats, right? So I'm full of meat, full of alcohol, and we go to bed at 3. I'm sleeping, right?
Hell
First
yeah,
class is at like 9 a.m. And I'm like, I'm not waking up for that. Get out of here. So about 12:30 rolls around. I wake up to Princess, wake up, Princess. Sorry, Rafael comes around the corner trying to wake me up. So I was sleeping on a fucking toddler bed. So half my legs were hanging off the edge of the bed and shit. So they come over and start tickling my feet. Like, Princess, wake up. So I was like, God, fuck you guys. So I go downstairs for class at the 12 o'clock class. And he goes, everybody welcome Princess. And I'm like, fuck you guys. So every day it was Princess. Like, God, fuck you guys. So Matt Merritt, he's probably listening to this. Fuck you, Matt. So we go home, and this dude, the first class I come to, he's got the kids class. He teaches the kids class. So I walk in the door, and then all the kids in unison, hi, Princess. Like, fuck you guys. Gold. I hate all of you. So my first fight coming up after Brazil, we went in September. My first fight was December because going through the divorce, she was the one that made me quit jiu-jitsu and MMA. And again, let me preface, me and her get along pretty well. We do well with the kids and everything like that. However, back then, hated her. We did not get along. She made me quit jiu-jitsu. She made me quit MMA because it took too much time away from her. Hold on.
You chose to.
I did choose, right? So she told me, you got to quit jiu-jitsu. And I said, okay. So don't anybody ever do that. If you love something, don't quit something if you love it, because you will end up resenting that person.
For sure.
So I quit, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit. I'm going to start fighting again. And so I said, I'm going to be the best jiu-jitsu fighter in Minnesota. So I get back, and I start to sign up my form, like your weight, your height, and everything. And then nickname came in. And Mark Mortensen came out to me. He's like, you realize if you don't put Princess on that nickname, we're not coming to the fight. I was like, I'm not going into an MMA fight as Princess. Fuck you guys. No. So
they're introducing me as Princess.
Yeah. So I come out, Princess, Nick Rahn, and I walk on, and I'm smiling. Because in MMA, I laughed and smiled all the time. There's so many pictures of me fighting, smiling, right? And I was that weirdo, like in my fight picture, I'm like, everyone else is like, ugh. They're like Killer and Punisher and all this crazy shit. And Princess. And everyone's like, I heard a bunch of people go, what? Like, people were like, what the fuck? And so by the end of this fight, I ended up winning my first fight back. I fought in 2009 in my first MMA fight. I started off boxing in 2008 in Iraq. And I started doing jiu-jitsu and a little bit of Muay Thai. And then I did an MMA fight in 2009. And after that, I quit. Did a little jiu-jitsu on deployment, stuff like that. So I was a little rusty. And so I had been training about a year at this time, jiu-jitsu. I didn't have a stand-up coach. And so I was doing a lot of stuff, my old boxing drills. And then this guy named Brett was helping me out with a little bit of Muay Thai stuff. So I didn't really have a stand-up coach, but still I beat the brakes off this guy. Minute and 13 seconds, I beat him with an armbar. So there was one point he pushed me against the cage. And I was really good at dirty boxing because I was tall and lanky, so it was easier to get my limbs out. So I hit him one time with an uppercut, and he's got a giant Harry Potter scar on his forehead now. That thing was down to the skull. It was gross. What? So he gets up, there's blood everywhere, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, I've never seen that much blood in a fight with me.
Did you start getting woozy?
No, I was just like, oh, dude, like, fuck, what did I do? So, okay. So he goes to take me down. This guy was short, right? So he suplexes my ass because my dumb ass put my hand over his arm. So he just throws me.
At this moment, you realize you fucked up.
So I do this arm bar, which, by the way, I didn't go over it with you today.
I'll be there
Damn
tomorrow.
it.
You
You're
have,
coming?
you have a
come.
special armbar?
I'm gonna come.
Yeah, so my coach set me with an armbar transition that just works really well for me. So you start off with gi. I reach cross, deep gi. I grab the sleeve, and I shrimp to this side. And then what I do is I shrimp again. But when I shrimp, I extend my body, and I slide my knee on top of their shoulder, and I drive their shoulder down to the ground. My other leg is underneath their body. So when I transition, I bring my shoulder back. I slide that knee out a little bit. So my knee is down, my foot is down under his body, and my leg slides from his knee or from his shoulder down to the mat, and my leg hooks the back of his neck. And then what I do is I roll.
Oh.
So it's an alligator roll armbar. So
Holy
if he doesn't tap right away, because I squeeze my knees so tight, and I get it that bitch tight. If he doesn't squeeze, or if he doesn't tap right as I start to roll, it dislocates your shoulder.
I'm so looking forward to training with you tomorrow.
And,
Oh, it's gonna be great.
you're
So
teaching us
looking
this at
forward to
11 a.m. geek
You
class.
could, you could show
If
it to
you
me
want
on
me to,
the
I will.
I
do.
want you to.
Dude, I love
You're
this
getting
move.
voluntold.
Yeah, we have right here. We've got his
You be the
His
jiu-jitsu
demo.
dummy.
Uki right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I'm feeling
The
sick.
jiu-jitsu dummy.
So I'll
so-
give him one of my white belts.
So this dude's bleeding all over the place, and he suplexes me, but he lands on he lands turtle, posted out, and so I dove on that shoulder and I rolled. As I rolled, I heard pop, snap. So I popped his shoulder and I popped his elbow, and I just let go before he even tapped. And the ref came over. He's like, "Thank you for tapping." He's like, "You would have ripped his shit apart." So I won. Minute and 10 seconds. I get up screaming on the cage. I'm like, I feel like fucking Superman, right? And so,
princess,
things,
princess,
dude, the whole crowd was cheering Princess. Like, this is the fucking stupidest thing. So then 2016, the fight of the night, half the crowd was there to see Yama. And they all loved him because he was very well known. He's very good at promoting himself. Hell of a good cook too. He's got his own restaurant. Amazing Afghan Mediterranean bistro. I go there all the time. So this dude and I just beating the shit out of each other first 2 rounds. So I'm going to tell you guys something I have to confess. And I'm so sorry. Please don't judge me. In that second round, he was beating the brakes off my ass, right? Hitting me with overhand rights. The first punch of the fight hits me with the overhand right. I still have his knuckle marks in my forehead. Right here. It hurt so fucking bad. I smiled and I was like, all right, here we go. The first punch of the fight. So afterwards, he's like, that took my fucking soul. He's like, you smiled at me, you motherfucker. I hate you so hard and you smiled. It's like, I smiled because it hurt.
You motherfucker.
So the second round, he's just blasting me, right? And so I pulled guard
Oh, no.
in an MMA fight. And my coach was like,
Jesus.
what are you doing? I was like, just trust me. So I don't like people on my side control,
Yeah.
but I'm okay with guard, right?
Yeah.
So I pulled him down into my guard, and right away I swept him. And I got on top.
Nice.
So I had mount, and I just start beating the fuck out of him. So he rolled again. We got against the cage, and I got a weak rear naked choke. I wasn't going to sink it. The bell rang. So at the end of the round, the second round, everyone was screaming, Yama, Yama, and then Princess, Princess. Like, this is so stupid. So that third round comes out. We high five. And
That's awesome.
it's the bell rings. I was like, let's give him a show. I was like, let's knock each other out, man. And so we go to line up. He comes at me, and I hit a retreating left hook, and I dropped him. As he dropped, I swung around. I took rear naked choke and body triangled him, and just, and I just remember saying, please tap, please tap, please tap, please tap. Just blood squirting out of his face because I popped the blood vessel in his nose. And he tapped. I jumped up, and just everybody, Princess. There's thousands of people in there screaming Princess. And I was on top of the cage yelling the whole time. I was like, they're screaming Princess. They're not screaming Nick or Ron. It's Princess. You are the princess.
I will be cutting this into multiple promo videos.
Oh, dude.
So-
Did I
you
tell
have
you about the time I shit my
gold.
pants in an MMA fight?
No.
No, but you're going to tell us right now.
So
Let's go, baby.
So after that fight,
Hold on.
after that fight, like I said, I want to be a jiu-jitsu fighter. So that's 2 fights now with submission. I was like, fuck yeah. So I talked myself into a title shot against Cameron Gilliam. Cameron Gilliam was ranked number 1 in the country. And so everyone's like, you have no fucking chance of beating this guy. I was like, fuck it, who cares? What's the worst he could do is knock me out. He wasn't really known for his striking, but his wrestling is phenomenal. And so I was like, I'm going to fucking beat this guy. So I have a really good training camp. I worked a lot of takedown defense. He still took me down like 3 times.
Damn it.
So the first round, I had a really bad weight cut. And so I was super bloated. So when I went to replenish the night before, I had eaten a cheeseburger, right? So I eat meat before every fight to gain, because I need that protein, right? And so a lot of people tell you what you should and shouldn't eat. my body likes to digest red meat the night before because it sits easier. And then the next day, like pancakes, eggs, and shit, like early morning. And then I kind of just ride out the rest of the day. But this time, for some reason, I didn't. Something wasn't sitting right. The burger that I got was super red, and I ate like half of it. I'm like, I probably shouldn't be eating this day before a fight. And I drank way too much water, so I was bloated. Because your body can only process about 16 ounces, and then I think it's 8 ounces an hour. But I was drinking way too much.
Yeah.
So if you look at some of my pictures from that fight, I look fat. And it was because I was ripped the night before, but I drank too much and I bloated up. So I was about 190 pounds that fight. We're fighting at 170. And so he goes out there, and all day I just had the bubble guts. I was like, oh, fuck. So I never really got nervous in fights. Like, I really didn't. And the only time I got nervous is when I was walking out. And then I get in the cage and everything was fine again. But beforehand, I'd shit like 30 times in one day. Yeah, and it was just nonstop.
I'm a pre-fight shitter.
Oh, me too. So we get out there, we get in the cage, and I had pooped like 30 times, right? So I'm like, okay, there can't be anything else left in the system, right? So we get out there, the bell rings, high five. He fucking Goldberg spears the shit out of me, literally. So he hit me so hard in my stomach, I farted. And I was like, ooh, oh, shit. So I squeezed, right? I squeezed my butt together as tight as I could, right? And so I'm sitting there like, oh, I just shit my fucking pants. And I'm just uppercutting him and shit. And I'm like, fuck. So he took me down. We got back up. We're standing. And I'm just like, oh, please don't drop out of my pants. So I had spandex on, right? So I always wear spandex underneath my fight shorts. And so luckily I squeezed that turd tight enough where it was like stuck. And it wasn't going nowhere, right? So I'm glad at that point it was mushy.
How about?
Yeah.
I'm glad it was mushy, not hard. Because if it was hard, it probably would have just a little present on the mat there. So the round is over. I go sit down. My coach gets in there. Sean Gilliver was my corner with Coach Mark Mortensen. So they put the chair down. I sit down. I was like, I shit my pants. Like, no, dude, you're doing good. I was like, no, I shit my pants. There's literally poop in my pants right now. And so I'm just like, I don't know what to do right now. And he's like, just stay standing. Don't get taken down, right? 10 seconds in the second round, just boom, hits me in the gut again. I was like, oh, no, not again. So they're like, okay, we're good. And so he gets side control. And right, I don't like people on my side control. I literally put my feet down. Just go ahead and take it, because I'm really good at sweeping from mount. So I swept for mount, but I fucked up and I left my arm up and he caught me and had an arm choke. I'd never been happier for a fucking fight to be over because they called around, and to top that, I was wearing white shorts. So the inner part of the ass crack was, you could tell, right? But you couldn't tell because it was underneath and like my butt. I got a big butt, so it's kind of hard to see. So they call the fight and everything like that. We go outside and everyone wants to talk to you. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back. And I was like, no, you need to talk. I was like, I'll be right back. So I go to the hotel, pull my pants off, and I had to literally have to peel my fucking pants off. I mean, it was so gross, dude. I scrubbed my fucking pants to get the poo stain out of there.
Oh, man.
Oh, man, it was bad. So I go back out there and start high-fiving people. Yeah, it was a shitty situation. So the funny thing is, nobody knew. Not one person knew. But of course I started telling people because it's fucking funny. So not one person would have known I shit my pants if I didn't say anything.
Princess.
The brown princess.
The brown princess.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that was... So, yeah, it was frustrating, man. But
this is great conversation. But I got some stuff for you guys.
Oh, hell yeah.
I want to give this... you said XL? And
large.
Right? Large or XL?
I can wear an XL, but large.
This is an XL.
That's fine.
All right.
I'll shrink it.
Check it out.
Thanks, brother.
If you dry it, you'll be good. Large?
Yeah.
Those are some podcast
That's
keys.
Thanks,
awesome.
man. Awesome.
Drew,
That
I've
is
had this
awesome.
sitting around waiting for you.
Oh,
Told you I was
shit.
going to get you a rash guard.
You are the
Nice.
man, bro. No
I do
matter
like those
what
rash
they
guards,
say
man.
about this guy, he
I
is the
know.
man.
I do like those rash guards, man.
Oh, man. This is
That's
going to match
cool.
my black
Now,
belt real
I actually
nice.
got 2 rash guards for you guys.
Oh,
It
and
just
that
didn't
was-
come in time.
No,
Like I
it's
get
all
them
good.
one off. I
Thank
can
you,
order
bro.
them one off.
Thank you.
Anytime, man.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I didn't. It didn't come in time.
Yeah.
So I have them, and I'll get them to you.
I'm gonna wear this at my
That's the
next
same
competition,
as
bro.
this. So
I'm
Nice.
going to wear this in my next competition.
Like it.
now I have something for Bo. I don't think he's really going to accept it. I've been trying to get him to do jiu-jitsu.
Uh-oh.
So I have a gi for Bo.
Oh, nice.
This is we all know shoyu roll.
Oh, yeah. Show your good roll.
This is like
What
a
the
really
fuck?
Good
great
cut.
gi.
I've never even got a shoyu gi.
Hey, I gave you what did I give you?
No, you didn't give me
What's
a
the-
flowing roll.
No, that's
No, you gave me a flowing roll.
no,
Because I
that-
wear this shit
no,
all the
it's not
time.
show and roll. It's not flow and roll.
The Jiu Jitsu Dummies one?
I won those. Yeah, I won those. It's not a shoulder roll,
bro. It's flow. And
it's not.
roll.
I'm saying it's not flow and roll. I promise you, it's not a flow and roll.
I'm almost
that blue one is
almost
it's a different brand. It's not shoulder roll. We won them. Pull it out. It's not a flow and roll.
Pulling the shit up.
Anyway, Bo, this is a really like these are sought after gis.
Bro, what does that say?
I'm hoping that's flow kimono. That's not flow and roll.
Shit.
That's flow.
Where's the dunce fucking hat that I could?
So, Bo, this is got your black gi, so you look like a ninja.
There you go.
This is a gi for you with the white belt.
You can
hoping
put it.
that you will try it on and roll around. Let me show you.
Yeah, you can put it on and throw it on for chicks, man. They like those white belts.
We gotta get a mat for the living room. We can do it. We can.
A second degree.
I can start showing you some stuff on the rug out there that you put out there, but this is for you if you choose to accept it. It will self-destruct.
As the black belt in charge here, he has
for
to.
You. All right. I figure I can't. I've been trying to get him to do it. I figured this is kind of going to force the decision a little bit. Hey, listen, you don't have to go start training, but you put that gi on. I'll bring my gi. I'll show you some stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girls will love it.
Yeah, you are in Miami,
especially
right?
that white belt, man.
Send me the pictures. Don't wear the white belt though.
Did you see that Theo Von skit where he's like, just so you know, I'm a white belt. He's like, I'm a 2-stripe white belt. So if anything happens, I could try. I probably won't be any help, but
do you know who the girl is on that? Mm-hmm. Kalila? Do you ever hear Tiger Belly with Bobby Lee? That's
I know Bobby Lee.
Bobby Lee from Mad TV. That's his girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
They live together and they do a podcast called Tiger Belly. They do a podcast together.
Oh, okay.
It's really funny. And it was actually one of the podcasts that somebody gave me hey, look, watch this. And as a little bit of inspiration when I first started. So, it's a really good podcast. But there's always jokes about Brendan Schaub and him that they have a crush on her. Well, that they want to bang her, So she was on that podcast by herself, but then it was, that was a good. But
was that him
subtext
saying
to
it?
that?
Okay.
Yeah, it was also kind of they were always talking about him and Brendan Shaw both wanting to smash Bobby Lee's girlfriend.
And I butchered it by the way, so go listen to that.
So I wasn't trying to stop the podcast. I don't want to forget.
No,
so enjoy the stuff.
Thank you.
Hey, I have a quick question for Jeremy though. What was you've mentioned an organization that you're working with? Or
the Dave Reaver Foundation.
What is that?
So they bring out veterans that are dealing with PTSD and everything.
Okay.
And they've been around for a while. They do motivational speaking and everything.
Is it more local to where you are? Or
so they have a location. Yeah. So we actually moved back down to Texas. They live in Kerrville, Texas. That's the one location. Okay. And then over in Eagle Summit Ranch, Colorado. So Dave, he is a Vietnam veteran. He was I want to say it was a brown water, black beret. Anyways, he had got shot. They went back out. They went to go throw a white phosphorus grenade inside of the brush where they had got attacked at, and he's shot. That's pretty awesome. If you're gonna go back out again, that's really cool. Anyways, he went to go through the white phos grenade, and a enemy sniper hit the grenade as it was passing by his ear. And so he's on fire and everything. So what does he do? He jumps into the water to try and put out the flame. Well, what does white phosphorus burn off of? Oxygen. And oxygen
makes it way worse.
Yeah. So I would look him up and just listen to his story. It's amazing. But his son, Matt Reaver, he's the one that got me into jiu-jitsu and everything. Okay. But they bring out veterans, get them. It's a week out there, and they go over different ways to cope with PTSD. Mm-hmm. But they also have Winning with Integrity, which is very great for the service member himself. But they do other ones. They have the spouse. What is it called? I'm sorry. But basically, you and your spouse will go there, and y'all can learn.
A couples retreat.
Yeah, it's a couples retreat. That's it. So they'll get the perspective of what the veteran's going through, but you'll get the perspective of what the spouse is dealing with, because that's a completely different animal that we don't understand. But it's the same thing. It was
talk about lack of training.
Oh yeah. And they're just thrown into it real hard.
Because it's like I don't want to deal with me, and now she's dealing with me.
I really
Like,
can't understand.
fuck.
There are no government organizations that really help you with this. Everything is
So the
is
Dave,
in
so
private, right, or private foundations and outside.
There's a
organizations.
lot of community support, like when it comes to like nonprofits and stuff, but there is no like reverse boot camp.
Yeah.
That's what's needed.
like to reintegrate.
Yeah, there needs to spend some time where you're not sergeant or corporal or fucking airman so and so. Like
that's one of the things I'm trying to do with the retreat in Minnesota. So with the proceeds from this documentary, if I get into Netflix, there's a chance that when I get into Netflix. So average documentary makes about $50,000 to $100,000, right? So when I left for this tour, I actually lost my job with the State Patrol in Minnesota. They essentially said that either you're not going or you're not going to have a job and you come back. And so I was like, peace.
Fuck them.
I love my job. I miss my troopers. And to be honest, the amount of emails and text messages I got from my troopers from my goodbye email, I was blown away. A couple of them saying like, you saved my life that day. And because we got to overwatch them on the cameras, and I've screamed at them at the top of my lungs, like, hey, you got a car coming your way in the winter. They slide all over the place. So I've yelled at a few troopers from, making sure they don't get hit, because that was my job, the protector, right? So I continued that job as the protector in the military to dispatch because I wanted to keep my troopers safe. That was just overwhelming. But I decided that when I get back, I'm actually turning in my 401k and my deferred comp, and I have about $30,000, and so I have enough to maybe buy I'm trying to buy 20 acres of land. What my goal is to eventually either make the money myself, because I believe in my mission 100%.
No shit.
So I need people to start seeing like how dedicated I am to this. I will get rid of my retirement to make sure that this happens. So as he talks about the Dave Reaver Foundation. Then there's also Mighty Oaks. I reached out to Chad from Mighty Oaks. I told him, look, you are an inspiration to me. Personally, my retreat is not going to be faith-based. There's a lot of these organizations. I'm not saying they're bad, but there's a lot of veterans who are not religious. And so these faith-based retreats turn them away. They don't turn them away, but the veteran themselves don't want to go there.
They're not fully focused when they do go there.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
so
there's a resistance.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you think they're trying to pound Jesus into you when really they're just trying to help you process it. Right.
Jesus love.
Yeah. So mine isn't going to be anti-religion. It's just what I plan on doing is doing that reverse boot camp and using those 6 principles that I came up with to actually talk to these veterans and get them to start realizing that your mindset is everything. Your environment is everything. So again, with the potato, the water, and egg is the big thing that I'm pushing with these guys. Are you going to continue to let your past control you? Or are you going to stop and process that, understand what's going on inside you, and you are going to start laying out the pathway of your life and choosing where your life goes rather than reacting to where your life is going to go. So essentially that's what I want to do with this retreat. Like I said, we'll have a wood shop, auto shop, jiu-jitsu mats. Like I said, I when I get the jiu-jitsu mats up, I'd love for you to come up and do a veterans jiu-jitsu weekend.
Yeah,
that'd be sweet.
And they'll heel hook you.
Yeah,
I know. Right?
Get every fucking veteran.
No heel hook.
Whoa,
we only pull guard in that gym.
We could pull guard and heel hook. You know what I mean? That's the only time it's acceptable. But no, as you were talking, I'm thinking like, listen, I am totally down to come up and do that, but I also there's other things that I could do too because I believe in that mission 100,000%. It's like we need a reverse boot camp.
Yeah, essentially, it's going to be a regain your life trip. So it'll be like the span of 5 days. You'll fly in.
My bad. I got experience doing retreats like that too.
Yeah, so like it'll be a 5-day retreat. So you fly in on Monday, right? I'll have somebody in a 15-passenger van that says free candy on the side. So we'll pick you up at the airport, drive you up there. We'll do an orientation. No, because the bus will break down on the way to the airport. So it'll be an orientation day. So we'll get to show you all different stuff. Like I said, we'll have Timber, the wolf from Minnesota Wolf Dogs. They're actually giving me Timber, so Timber is my wolf.
You gotta tell the podcast a story about that wolf. Just saying.
Yeah, so Minnesota Wolf Dogs, we have a program called Operation Wolf Dog, and we actually created Operation Wolf Dog with Minnesota Wolf Dogs. So they're a wolf sanctuary, right? All of their wolves are mixed with a little bit of wolf or a little bit of dog. So a couple of them are like 90%, a couple of them are 70%. There's a couple low content, like 30, 40% there too. But there's a lot of places in the United States you're not allowed to own even a half-breed wolf. So what we do is they go rescue these wolves, and we help them raise the money to get these wolves there. But what we do is we build their enclosures. So with the veterans, with Warriors Next Adventure, we go up there, we build enclosures. We get to feed these wolves, we get to play with these wolves, we go inside the cage and pet them and stuff. But they actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have a wolf in Wisconsin Dells who's due for euthanasia on Monday," and it was Thursday at the time. I was like, "Well, I'm off on Friday." I was like, "Let's go get him." And so they're like, "Go get him." So we drove out there, and Timber's a timber wolf and a shepherd. I think he's got a little husky in him too, but he is he's beautiful. Such a beautiful boy. I love him. So he was super aggressive. I'm not going to say the situation he was in because it just pisses me off, but he was not in a great situation. Living outside, no shelter. Wolves sleep in dens or caves, right? He had no shelter, no doghouse, and he was chained up his whole life. So he was living outside. So he was super aggressive. And there was a reason why he was super aggressive. I'm not going to get into it, but I slowly started to back up to him so he could sniff me and get comfortable with me, right? And so I got close enough to the point where he could actually jump on me. He could bite me and maul me if he wanted to, but I'm not really scared of wolves. Horses, on the other hand, fuck them.
Terrified.
So I back up, and he actually jumped up and hooked me and tried to dominate me because that's what wolves do. They try to figure out the pecking order, right? So I turn around, grab him by the throat, pin him down, I hold him down on the ground. I start going, "Go boy, go boy." You know, the high voice pitch, like a lot of canine trainers do in the military, to let them know, like, they're super excited and happy for you, right? So I'm petting him, making him know, like, "Listen, I'm not going to hurt you, but you will not mount me, right? I'm the boss." And so after that, he started jumping on me and licking my face. And wolves, when they get excited, what they'll do is they'll actually pick at your beard. So they'll rip little pieces of your skin out. It's like them playing with you. So you got to be careful because they'll rip pieces of that shit out.
Rip one of their shit out. Come here, motherfucker.
So I got to rescue Timber. We came back. We actually built Timber's facility. So me and a couple vets, Andrew was one of them, Joe was one of them. There's a couple other guys out there too. So we built his enclosure. So that night, I slept at my dad's house, which is right down the road from the wolf sanctuary, but they kept him in the garage. They have like a holding area in the garage. So they waited for me the next morning to get out there. And so I actually got to go in there, put him on the leash, and take him out to his kennel. And I personally, got to release him outside without a leash for the first time in his life.
Wow.
He was over a year old, Wow. So for the first time ever, you get to run free, because of Warriors Next Adventure, because of Minnesota Wolf Dogs. And I know that was me, but other veterans get to be involved in this. But my story as a veteran who gets to participate in this program, because I'm a participant of my program, because it's healing for me. I got to watch this wolf run free for the first time. There's a video that I put out, and I release him. He checks his area, comes back, and I squat down and I go like this. He runs up and he buries his head in my chest, and I just start petting him. I fucking cried, man. I was like, this is so beautiful. Like this, yeah. He has life now because of what we did,
So I don't mean to try to interrupt you, but I'm glad you finished.
You're good.
Understand that with your mission and what you're doing, that's essentially what you're doing for veterans. You're helping us release the chain and run free. So understand that.
That's deep right there.
Yeah.
I like it.
Fucking deep motherfucker, man. Come on, man.
I just try to make a joke.
I just want people. Like I was telling you the other day. My new saying that I came up with, me and my girlfriend Mara were talking, and she had mentioned something about helping others suffer less. And I started to realize that my happiness is directly tied to helping veterans suffer less. So the more suffering I can take away from veterans, even if it puts more on me, because I do become depressed when I talk to veterans and they're down. It's the whole jumping in the pit, jumping down into the hole with the veteran instead of just tossing him a rope. What you're doing is you're essentially jumping in with him because you know how to get out. It's difficult, it's hard, but you know that you can get out. And so you jump in with them, you help them get to that point where they can crawl out themselves. But every time you do that, you get stuck in that hole for a moment. So even if it's just a moment. So
I know that when I was helping host retreats for veterans, it was 6 days. And, you have veterans talking about killing kids in Vietnam, different Iraq stories, Afghanistan. Like, it was very heavy. And every time after we used to leave, I used to go to the beach. and sit in the water and just let the waves wash me. And I just start talking to God, the universe, the God of the ocean, whatever. And I'm just like, take it. Whatever it is that I'm holding on to, that I listened to and like, got the transfer of whatever energy that it was, just please just take it. You know what to do with it. And I just sit there in the water and just get bashed around. And it always helped.
Is it dealing? Is it because you have to start processing their stuff, or it's making you deal with your own?
Yeah,
Or
so
is it both?
It's both.
I have a lot of people close to me that tell me I need to take care of myself better, and I agree. There was a point in time where back in October, I literally went to somebody's house and pulled a gun out of their hand and talked them out of suicide. So I fulfilled my destiny that I created for myself, that I will be the guy that can pull that gun out of my hands, but instead I did it for somebody else. About 2 days later, I went to the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack.
The anxiety of that.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that I didn't process it properly, because I didn't bury it, because I told a couple people that I'm close to, because I don't like to brag about what I do. That's for that veteran to reach out and say, hey, this is what Warriors Next Adventure did for me. I'm not in this business to brag, right? I do show pictures and videos of stuff that we do because donors want to know what their money's coming to, right? But the real shit, that's stuff that nobody will ever know. There's very few people like Jeremy, because of who he is. I feel like I can tell him some of the things that I have to deal with and some of the veterans I interact with, because he's also in that role. So I can bounce things off of him, and it's not really bitching or complaining. It's just like, these are the frustrations of doing what we do. And I sat there thinking I was having a heart attack. I was panicking, and I had panic attacks before, but this was real. This was bad, and I had pain here. I could barely move my arm. I drove myself to the hospital, even though everybody told me not to. But my girlfriend said, go to the fucking hospital. And so she's much smarter than me. So I was like, okay. And they checked my heart levels. They checked my blood levels. They did a stress test on me. And they're like, you have the athletic ability of like a 20-year-old. You're good. And I was like, what the fuck is happening to me? And so I go to therapy once a week. He's awesome, really good guy. And I told him about what happened. I was like, I just couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. And he's like, you realize that's a panic attack, right? So what you did was you re-traumatized yourself with your own incident because you tried to kill yourself. So when you went to that veteran and you dove in that hole, you were stuck in that hole. You didn't pull yourself out right away. And so what happened was I essentially re-traumatized myself, and I was not processing with it very well. And so I took like 2 days off for myself. I was telling him sometimes I do deal with depression still, and this nonprofit helps me push that shit away. I still deal with my own shit. About once a week, I'll sit and I'll meditate about things that are haunting me. And so I am doing what I say to other people is take care of yourself. But there's certain times where I have to push myself every day to get the fuck out of bed, even with this mission. Depression's a bitch, man. And I struggle every single day to even get out of bed.
I don't know if this is going to sound stupid. I hope it doesn't. When you're talking, I'm thinking about the movie Green Mile.
Yeah.
Right? When he does that thing with his mouth, like, isn't he taking taking that evil out of the people, right? He's taking on their problem, their disease, their sickness, right? And I don't know. He dies at the end, right? He dies. Do they shoot him or he dies? Do they kill him?
I think they end up killing him.
Yeah. But like you were talking and I'm seeing that, like so you got to let that go. Yeah. You're absorbing somebody else's pain.
Yeah. And essentially
you've got to let it go.
That's what an empath does,
Fuck, you just took the word out of my head.
Yeah. So
what's an empath? I've heard the term before, but
when you're sad, I'm sad. When you're depressed, I'm depressed. When you're happy, I'm happy. We
absorb the emotions.
Yeah. When I talk about being the water, the potato, and the egg, right? So I allow myself to be adjusted emotionally to fit you, right? So Tony Robbins always talks about mirroring, right? You mirror what somebody else is doing to make them more comfortable. When you're dealing with a veteran who is anybody, it doesn't have to be veterans. When you're dealing with somebody who is in that state of deep depression, they're not going to fucking listen to somebody who's like, oh, life is good, life is happy, yay, positive vibes only. That shit doesn't fucking work.
Nope.
So what I do is I go back to that moment where I'm about to die. I'm about to kill myself again. So I bring myself down. And so I don't intentionally depress myself, but I bring myself back to those memories in that moment, because that memory in that moment, it's right here. It doesn't take long for me to get there, because I can get right there, because I should not be alive. I tell people all the time, I should not be alive. The fact that I am alive, I decided that I'm going to take my second chance, and I'm going to do everything in my power to steal as much sadness and as much, suffering as I can.
Is there a way to do what you're doing without having to put yourself into that mental state?
Sure, but it works for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to change that.
But if it's working to your detriment,
well,
isn't that a bad thing? I mean, if it's working and it's hurting you, and you have a panic attack.
Remember what I told you about, how long you're going to let things affect you.
Mm-hmm.
I've become more effective at not letting something affect me for long periods of time, but actually processing it. And to be honest, Mara, my girlfriend, she's an addiction counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So counseling men is what she does. And so whenever I get to those states, she literally tells me, I want to fucking know when you're depressed. She's like, I can be there with you too. So we're perfect for each other, because she's at the point now where when I'm down, she knows, because I want to run, I want to hide, I want to disappear. I don't want to be near people. I don't want to tell people I'm sad. I want to just go. Right. I know that that's not the right answer. And so I forced myself to sit down with her. I was like, can I talk to you? I got to share how I'm feeling right now, and I'm not okay. And so I've gotten better, because her, as a significant other, she needs to know as well, because she needs to know when you're not okay. Like if you have a wife or significant other or spouse, we've talked a lot about that this week. If you tell somebody, I'm not okay, what you're doing is you're opening your heart. You're opening every single piece of yourself to that person, and when you can get to that point, you allow yourself to be helped. So you can't be helped unless you let people help you. Essentially you're the one that needs to do all the healing, but at the same time, if you keep that closed all the time, the resources you have, they're not going to do a fucking thing for you. You have to stop, be vulnerable, open yourself up to be accepting of help. And so she's actually got me to the point where I process much better now, because I do share with her. Mm-hmm. She shares her stuff, because she deals with heroin addiction. And that's a dark motherfucker.
She helps people with heroin addiction.
Yeah, sorry. She's not a heroin addict. She helps heroin addicts.
I'd hope not.
Yeah. She helps recovering heroin addicts. Opiates, there's other things she helps with too. And so
let me stop
she's
you
been an asset.
real quick. I'm sorry. Is she flying in?
Yeah, she'll be here tonight at 9. So
we got.
It's 8:51. Are you picking her up?
Oh shit. It's like 9:30. So
okay,
she'll be all
right.
She knows she's gonna have to wait a little bit.
No,
I told her about the podcast.
I was gonna say I didn't know if she was gonna meet you at a hotel.
Yeah, she knows about the podcast.
Okay,
so.
all right.
Go
ahead, I'm sorry.
But it's all about, like I said, how long are you going to let something affect you? And so there's a better process of this is not going to affect me very long. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but you have to acknowledge it. So once you acknowledge that, you can deal with it better. And especially if you acknowledge somebody who's close to you, like a battle buddy. I'll reach out to somebody as well. There's usually one or two people that I reach out to, like, bro, fuck. And somebody always has something positive to say. So I find inspiration. I'm not a motivated person. Like we talked about many times, I'd rather sleep in bed all day, not do a fucking thing, not talk to anybody. I don't want to run this nonprofit. I don't want to do anything, right? But one thing I keep hearing about jiu-jitsu is accountability. And I realized that creating this nonprofit made me accountable for myself. I have to fucking get up in the morning, because what if somebody calls me and I don't answer? What if that motherfucker kills himself because I decided that I can't do it today? So it gives me strength. This nonprofit literally gives me the strength to get out of bed in the morning.
I think a lot of people that'll listen to this, and I know myself included, this past year was really tough for obvious reasons, the pandemic. I've been home. Had this conversation with my wife last night. We were having a deep conversation, and I'm like, you have to take a step back every once in a while and remember that she went to work every single day. Her life, other than having to wear a mask, didn't really change.
Yeah.
She went to her training. She went to, she likes to do kickboxing. She went to work. She's gone to the store, got her nails done. I was home. Other than getting a haircut, I hurt my knee, wasn't going to jiu-jitsu, working from home. Some days I didn't even leave. My stepdaughter is in her room doing her homework most days, locked in the room. It's homework and TikTok, right?
The essentials.
And again, we said you have to remember, like, we were talking about, she was like, we got to do more stuff and go out, and you don't take me anywhere. Like, we were having one of those conversations. And I'm like, you do understand that I've been the one that's locked in the house. Like, you've lived your life pretty normal, again, other than wearing a mask. And I said, I've been home. Did you ever think like, hey, let me take him somewhere? I'm not trying to like, say that I don't want to take her out, but I was having a very stressful time. I'm not going to jiu-jitsu, which is my stress release. I wasn't really going to the gym. The knee was blown out. So it was a lot of like work, nap after work, watch TV all night, work on the podcast. That's what I do at night. So kind of turned it around on her a little bit, but I had to say, you got to remember that. Like, I am not calling what I went through PTSD, but it hasn't been easy. This especially losing the thing that is my release. I lost that release, and I'm so happy to be back. Then I hurt my rib 3 weeks ago, and it's like 3 weeks ago.
Got other ribs.
Like, but I started to go to the gym, and we had moved, and there's a complex there's a gym in the development, so I started to get into weight training again. But
great,
I've dealt with that, so I think a lot of people can relate to that, to that situation this last year. Again, I don't know if I would call that PTSD, but there's a lot of people dealing, like, they're going to hear this. You can kind of like insert yourself here.
Just call it the thing.
There's a lot of people that can relate.
It's just the thing that happened. This year, like it affected all of us.
Yeah.
And I got to say one thing for the ladies: treat your man.
Man. Rub that dude's feet, man. Take him out.
Yeah.
Men want to be pampered too. Okay.
Not
everybody.
You want to know what I told her?
Here.
Get a princess.
We went this far. Go ahead, Bo. I'm sorry. You want to say something?
Learn the word initiate.
Yes.
Initiate.
Initiate it.
We both read the 5 love languages.
Yeah. Which one's yours?
Well, that's the thing. So last night I told her, she would tell me, she's like, but that's not your love language. And I said, you know what? Because we take the test often, like they send you an email, like, take the test, and like it might change a little bit. And I said, I don't want to hear about that's not my love language anymore. They're all my love language. I want all of those things all of the time. I want all of those things. I want to go out.
Yeah.
I like gifts too, just like you do. I like touch. I want, let's have more sex. We were going in, we were talking about it. We went in, and I said, forget that there's a top one. I want all of them. And she just looked at me. She was like, kind of like, okay.
And mine are pretty
All
much
right.
all but gifts.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
People give me gifts a lot like that. I appreciate it. Like, I never.
I'm not gonna sleep with
never.
I'm not gonna,
man.
I'm not gonna start touching you later.
Yeah. I don't expect gifts from anybody ever. I don't really want them. Right. When I get them though, like, I get super teary. Like, I had Chuck and Amanda. These two. They went to climb Mount Elbert with us, but they ended up not climbing because they're like, yeah, fuck that, because it's the highest mountain peak in the Rockies. So afterwards, we all got together. We did a live podcast, which we're going to do again this year because it was actually a lot of fun.
Nice.
So we do a live podcast, and I have an extra microphone for all the guys who climbed with us, and so we talk about the climb and we have fun. And they were indulging in the Colorado edibles, and so it was interesting. But these motherfuckers got me the topographical carving of Mount Elbert. So all of the mountains, it was a wood carving of the topographical of Mount Elbert. And I got it, and I was like, you fuckers, why did you do this? So it's like,
who put water in my eyes?
I know, I get so emotional with this shit. Like, I don't ever, that's not a love language of mine. But when I get surprised with it, I'm like, oh my God.
But maybe it is.
Yeah,
maybe. If it creates that much emotion, maybe it is. And you just, I find it.
A love language is really what you need, though.
But
which is
with that emotion, but that emotion that's coming out of you, you're so appreciative of it. Maybe it's something that is good, and maybe
it's a hidden one.
Because the thing about being a giver, or like this role, because like in all of our conversations today, I'm like, yo, he's like a mirror of me, right? And when you
better
serve
looking one though,
yeah. You gonna make me say that on the podcast?
Fine.
Okay, I look like a fucking hobo right now. Come on.
The prettiest hobo I've ever seen. Princess hobo.
Princess hobo.
Looks like that might be a quote on the bus.
Yeah.
Hey,
the princess hobo.
Princess hobo. But now when we're in this, it's like we feel like we just have to serve, right? Yeah. And that we don't deserve to be served, kind of thing. It's just like, no, I got to go do my thing. I have to help. I have to go pull the gun out of their hand. I have to help this person. But when, it's hard to receive that. right? Because I experienced the same thing because the gifts are just like whatever, right? But then the right kind, like those surprise, like this, like I appreciate the fuck out of this, right? But it's like if I take that quiz, the gifts are at the lowest.
Oh yeah, usually.
Yeah. So one thing that came up when you were speaking, I usually heard this story and I related it to problems, but now it kind of took on a different context, and it's the story of the two monks that were crossing a river, and monks aren't supposed to touch females, right? And there was a female who was struggling. I don't know if she was drowning or whatever, but she was struggling to get across, right? So one of the monks goes and he picks the female up and he carries her across the water, right? Carries her, gets her across the thing safe, puts her down and keeps going, right? So then the other monk is like looking at him and he's just like what the fuck, right? Like way down the road, he's like, what the fuck? Like finally he just couldn't take it anymore. He's like, why did you carry that woman? You know we're not supposed to do this as part of this. Da-da-da. He starts going off. And he's like, I put her down back there. You're the one still holding on to her. Right? So when you talk about right? So when you speak about like choosing your feelings, right? It's like you can help that person cross the river, but you don't have to continue carrying them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I say that's probably the hardest thing about what I do is because I continuously feel responsible. Like I said, I've told the story about, my mom, my birth mom, and my abusive stepdad, and being completely fucking helpless. Used to beat the shit out of her, and eventually led to me. I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't protect myself. I couldn't do anything. My mom literally was dying in my lap, and then eventually, ended up coming back. I felt so hopeless at that moment, and that police officer that came out made me feel like fucking Superman, because he made me feel safe. He made me feel protect, like he was Superman. And so that's when I decided I wanted to be a cop because I wanted to protect people. And so I joined Air Force Security Forces because eventually when I got out, I wanted to be a cop. But eventually I got the role as a 50 cal gunner. And so I got to protect people in real shit, in Iraq and Afghanistan. And that protector role never went away. Then I got the job at the State Patrol. I need to protect my troopers. But at the same time, I was kind of specialized in suicide calls because I was fucking really good at it. Again, I always tell people, like, bragging and being proud of what you're good at are two different things.
Of course.
I don't run around telling people, like, oh, this. But I was very good at changing and persuading people to realize that their situation's not as bad as they make it seem. And so I took that skill that I had in the military and I transitioned it into literally watching, because we had cameras, and I would literally watch these people standing on bridges, and I would get them to understand that life is fucking precious, and you don't deserve to take your own life. It's not your choice. You don't get to choose to take your own life. Like when I fucked up, it wasn't my choice. It wasn't my time. I'm not a religious person, but I do believe that we all serve a purpose on this planet, and I believe we are
Dharma.
lost until we don't. Yeah, the Buddha Dharma. We all serve a purpose, but we feel lost until we know what that purpose is. Once we know that purpose, the answer is always there.
Right? What's that quote? It's like the two greatest days is the day you were born and the day you realize why, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the day I realized why I'm here, it was, I think I told the story in the last episode, but there was a female who called. She was suicidal. I pulled her up on camera. She was standing on the bridge, and I talked her off the ledge. She was a veteran, and so that's when I first got my taste of this feels really good. It was almost a self-serving service. Talking that woman off the bridge made me realize that I can change people's way of seeing life. I could change their perspective with words. As a kid, I was always weird. I was weird. We moved around a lot and shit, like the whole Green Mile thing. I literally thought I could heal people by touching them. I didn't really tell a lot of people that. I told my birth mom, but she was fucking weird anyway. So she's like, yeah, honey, go ahead.
Go ahead and touch those people. It's okay.
So like anytime somebody was hurting, I would hug them. And so I seriously thought that I was pulling that away from them. But what I didn't realize was it was the physical touch. It was the action that was pulling away that sadness. It wasn't.
So you've
the
always
actual
been
touch.
like this.
Yeah, since I was probably about 8 or 9.
You said something before about Jeremy. You said me and Jeremy are doing the same thing. We didn't go too far into what do you do? You working with veterans? I mean, I understand that
I'll
you
help out with the veterans and like keeping up
at the organization.
So I've worked with them and the Recon Sniper Foundation and a few others. You know, obviously supporting Weedify not in a monetary, but as a spokesperson that at least what I can be. Yeah. Holding up that presentation and coming along on this trip with Nick with the Warriors Next Adventure. It's something that you have to take your own personal time and actually try and serve other people.
Yeah.
So like another love language.
Yeah.
But it's it like Nick saying it doesn't only fulfill them or try and give them hope, but also fulfills you.
Yeah.
And
there's a little. I think I've talked about it. There's a little. I think Bo and I have talked about this where I've said, there's a little selfish piece in it for me. It makes me feel good.
I call it healthy selfishness.
Yeah. And I also say,
is
I wasn't always the best
because I
person.
hate the word selfish. I hate the context of it, but I like healthy selfishness. I like that.
It's healthy because you're doing it for yourself, but it benefits other people.
Yeah,
I've been looking for a word. I got
said
it.
that, like,
Stealing it.
This is a little bit of my penance. This is me giving back for stupid things I've done in my life. Not being there for family and friends or just doing stupid stuff. This is my time to give back, whether it's just, having you on talking, being an ambassador for Weedify, doing our own foundation, this is just me giving, and it makes me feel good.
Well, I've said before the podcast, I've been on a lot of podcasts.
But this one's the best one. So.
Well, I was telling you and Bo, I think this is the best produced podcast that I've been to.
Thank you.
A lot of them been online, but still. The production.
All me. I do almost all of this myself.
No, it's just you guys do a really good job of the production value, but it's the conversations that you're facilitating. You're facilitating this conversation because this conversation is going to be heard by a lot of people. And how many people are out there that might need this conversation? This doesn't happen without you.
Well, and that's why I also mentioned before about it. Like this isn't just going to, if somebody's listening to this and go, oh, it's about the military, I'm going to go to the next podcast. No, they should be listening to this whole podcast because just like insert yourself into the situation, take out military, put in, COVID, take out, who was it that said, I'm not sure if it was you telling me last time that, you said it today, that a lot of PTSD comes from car accidents.
Yeah. Car accidents. Number one leading cause of PTSD is car accidents. It's just
this, you're holding on to something that's happened to you in the past and it's affecting you now. What is that for you? What trauma is that for you? Is it being in the military, police officers?
Like you said, it's a common reaction for an uncommon event that's happened to you. And I love that saying. I'm stealing that shit too.
There we go, bro.
I'm really glad that it didn't work out with my gym, you guys came together. This was like the perfect. It was you guys were supposed to meet.
I really feel like you guys happens for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like with Greg from George from Fargo BJJ. Again, brain damage. I have a lot of issues with remembering things.
You have a great memory for somebody who has bad memory. You said the first and last name of, you said every gym, the city, and the first and last name of everybody at the. Now I don't know if you got it right.
If it truly,
I don't know if those are all right. Well, you could completely bullshitting it. Yeah, John Smith at
you're gonna post
Brazilian
those clips?
BJJ.
I know, right? Does it say fact checkers?
I know, fact check actually.
But for somebody with a bad memory, you have had a great memory. Right down to every little breakdown and what was broken and where it broke down.
Well, I keep saying Gregory for some reason, but it's George from Fargo BJJ. And here goes the memory thing. I don't remember why I was even bringing that up.
Oh, shit.
Like I wasn't supposed to meet him. I wasn't supposed to stop there. But we broke down in Fargo. And before we left, Roland Larson, thank you, he actually said, hey, there's a guy who's a veteran who's got a really good gym in Fargo. You should stop there. I'm like, well, we're not going to be stopping there. Well, the bus had other plans. So,
oh, yes, you are.
Yeah.
It's that, whatever that, you said you prayed, the woman that sold you the bus prayed on the bus.
Yeah.
She put something in there.
It's the hippie spell.
She put something in there, and the hippie spell, combat hippies. See how that works? There's some, I really do believe this, and I do believe there's something greater than us, right? There's a larger power, whether you believe that's God or the universe or whatever. There's a reason that this all happened. There's a reason that you broke down and all the times you did. It's going to make the documentary better. I believe if you're a good human being, those adversities are meant to have a good outcome at some point.
Yeah.
if you're an asshole and you're an axe murderer, those bad things are going to lead to bad things for you. But I think if you're a good person, those bad things, they make you stronger. I mean, you guys are fucking really strong individuals, all three of you, because of the bad things that you went through.
This
you
is the
would
most
not be
humble
sitting
fucking
here
badass
now.
I've ever met, by the way.
Yeah.
You guys
This
wouldn't be
fucking
sitting
warhorse
here
over
now if
there.
it wasn't for this, right? For what the struggles you've been through.
Yeah.
You've got an organization. I know Drew's done a lot of stuff with, like, you know, helping young men and mentoring, and I know that about
Veterans
him.
and all kinds of
You know,
shit.
so I mean, I think you guys are doing some really good shit.
Thank
man.
you.
It was supposed to happen like this.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go train tomorrow again.
Yeah.
I want
My
he's
gym,
gonna-
let's
He's
I
gonna,
love-
he's
I
gonna
love
dislocate
ass
my
meeting.
arm tomorrow. Apparently,
Well, it's, you know, I always
I'll
tell people
crack
too, it's
his
like
heel.
you choose how you feel. You can't always react to your situation, or you can't always control what happens, but you
Yeah.
can always control your reactions. If I'm preaching this constantly and I go out on this tour and I just fucking give up, who am I?
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna forget everything that I said. Like, fuck that guy. He's full of shit.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's part of the accountability with Warriors Next Adventure is like, I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna fucking do it. It's not always gonna be the way I planned.
Yeah.
But with every breakdown, I literally go through my 6 principles. You know, and again, I'll go through them real quick. I won't get into it because we all know that's a fucking long speech. So who do you have? I started thinking about not only who I have physically there for me, but the amount of people that have donated to this organization because I told them this is what I want to do and they believe in it. And they put forth their own hard-earned money to make sure this happens. You know, I put a lot of money down in this too, but it's amazing that the amount of people who see my vision just by me telling them about what the vision is. You know, now I got to deliver it, but it's
no pressure.
you have to stop and think, like, who do you have with you, right? Look at all the fucking army that I have behind me that supports this thing, you know? You have to,
Just
like,
happens to come up every time.
I know,
you-
right? Like We Defy
We
Foundation.
Defy
These
Foundation.
guys have been fucking awesome for us.
They are great.
You have to think about, what do you have? Now, I always ask people, like, if I were to ask you, what do you have? Name one thing. What do you have?
I have a son.
Okay, so that's not a bad thing. It's not a wrong answer. But I always ask people, what do you have? People don't think physical. They always think physical. What do you have here? Right? So
Oh.
I have the ability to figure things out. That's, you know, my ability to problem solve. That's something that I have. I have that ability to do, and I consistently show that. I want to show that. I don't want shit to keep breaking. Please stop. But I'm going to continue to problem solve because I have that ability to problem solve. Being a 911 dispatcher, you have troopers call up to you, be like, hey, I need this. We're like, what? That doesn't even exist. Give me 5 minutes. And then you call them with an answer, right? So if you don't know the answer, you got to know the person who knows the answer. So networking is very important too. So networking, the ability to figure things out, problem solving.
You also have the power of influence. I have
Well,
everything
thank
that you just said, but you also have the power of influence. Have
Thank
you
you.
ever been accused of being a manipulator?
No.
No? Not in your like shit days, like when
What's it called?
like, huh?
Have I been accused of being a manipulator? Oh, yeah.
Of
For
course.
Sure, for sure.
Right,
Especially in my shit days.
Every
Yeah.
girlfriend I've ever had.
Right, me too.
Just kidding.
And that was the narrative in my head. Oh fuck, I'm a manipulator. How do I fix myself? Like, no. Right? I used my power of influence to manipulate when I was acting ignorant. But now that I know better, I understand that it's just the power of influence. And it's a gift that I have. So now I just have to point it in a direction that's more conducive with my purpose.
It's like a superpower being used for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like I said,
it's a
anytime I
fucking
have these
mirror, bro.
conversations.
It's also like walking around naked in the morning, Woody.
And on
Gotta
that,
be a
we-
dick.
and on that, we're going to start to wrap things up because we're going kind of long.
I got
And,
one thing to
Go
say.
ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm
Because
going to
you
let
know I always got
I'm
some shit
going
to
to let
say.
everybody go around and give their last word.
One thing just to piggyback off what you guys were saying, like going through shit, right? One thing that I came up with, that I realized in my own life, it's like the things that suck, they really suck. But as you're able to take your story and like the gold that you gained from it and share it with others, you start realizing that, yeah, you're living this life as yourself, but it's not about you. We're like ants, right? We're all like little individuals, but we're all
It's a community, right?
yeah, we're
Part
all
of a bigger community.
yeah, we're all part of that bigger community, right? So the things, so when we talk about Buddhism, right? How there is no good and bad, it's just yin and yang, right? We experience these different things so that we could get the gold from it. So my boy Chewy, Jiu Jitsu, it's my dog, Fucking love that dude. But
When is he coming on the podcast?
man.
When is he coming on?
bro, I've stayed at Chewy's house. You need to get in touch with him. Let me know.
He was at the gym. He was at the gym recently.
I was just watching his
he's-
listening to some of his podcasts.
That's really
Yeah,
cool
he's
Yeah.
awesome. He's awesome.
Chewy's fucking great. He has have you seen the video of me and him?
Mm-mm.
I was like, why you beat me up in front of my friends, Chewy? And he's like, because you threw me in front of my friends. 'Cause I hit him with like that cyborg throw. When I first went to his
The
gym.
tornadoes.
Yeah, the tornado throw. Yeah, but he tells a story because he's a nerd. He's a big nerd too. And it's I think I don't remember where he got the story from, but it's about like a man who had to go into hell, and he's just digging and digging and digging and digging. Doesn't know why. I forgot. Like it's like very miserable or whatever, but like it's in hell, and then he finds some gold, and like brings the gold back up. And he's like able to share it. And I'm sure I butchered the fucking story. But you understand what I'm saying? Like you have to, it's almost as if like things are going good and then
You
it's
gotta
just
go
like,
through some shit.
yeah, hell calls you. It's just like, bro, you got to go down there and go find some gold. And then it's like, you go and you grab the gold and you're able to share it. And it's just like, got to go back through hell, buddy. That's why it's like, it keeps popping up. And it's like, we're playing a video game, right? We gain more experience. We gain better weapons to deal with harder levels.
I always
But
tell
we-
people that true happiness is found in the experience, in new experiences.
Yeah.
You know,
Those new levels. You know what I mean?
level
Alright.
33.
We're gonna start with Jeremy. You want to give any shout outs? Say hello to anybody?
Yeah.
Your kids just won some medals today.
Oh no, this was
Oh,
at the Ostanaga
Oh,
competition.
okay. I
a
thought
couple
that was
months
today.
ago.
I
Yeah.
thought that was today while you were
No,
going.
no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the biggest one's out to my wife Brittany and the two kids, Trevor and Kara.
Yeah.
Weedify, for being able to put me through that.
Yeah.
And shout out that organization again. Revis.
Yeah, the Dave Reaver Foundation.
Reaver.
Yeah, Dave
Okay.
Reaver. Yep. And then Origin, Maine. They provide us with a couple geese and everything
Oh,
else.
very
and
cool.
Jocko Fuel, and it's
shit,
awesome.
yeah.
So
That's awesome.
Sponsor the podcast, Jocko.
Yeah, right.
as a second degree.
Second degree white belt.
I know you got some. Go ahead, if you want to give
Oh
your
man,
sponsors
so
some
many
shout
sponsors.
outs.
Let me start off with the sponsors who actually paid to help us get around the country. The Bake Shop Treats. They got amazing CBD edibles. They're amazing. It's CBD only. Sorry, guys. But they also have like bath bombs. They have all kinds of stuff. So if you use, don't tell them I said this, but you use WNA CBD 15, you'll actually get 15% off, and they donate that 15% to us. Yeah, it's good stuff too. I personally very judgmental about CBD and shit, so I took it for about 2 months. It's amazing. I totally stand by it, and I wouldn't really
Best sleep ever.
Yeah, seriously, I sleep very well with it too. So, St. Croix Custom Furniture, my board member Will, who's runs that company, he helped me build the bus before we left. He spent a lot of time on this. We actually built it in his new shop, which isn't even finished yet. There's no concrete on the floor, so we built it in his shop. So thank you, Will. We wouldn't be on this tour without your help. Rip It Energy, which Rip It is awesome.
Of course
Right?
it is.
Who doesn't
Since
love
deployment.
Rip It, right?
Mhm.
So I posted on my Facebook, hey, I need somebody who works for Rip It because I think this would be the most badass sponsor. And so one of my buddies sent a message to the Rip It Energy on Facebook, which I had already done that too. But when you reach out as an organization, people are like, eh. But when you say, hey, this organization is doing some sweet shit, check them out. They're more apt to actually reach out to us. So he actually reached out and said, hey, I want to know more about this. So I sent Rip It a big, long email, said, this is what we're doing. She's like, fuck yeah, we'd love to be a part of that. Right? So they reached out, and so they each donated $1,000 to get us on the road. Yeah. So $3,000 just to get us started.
Did they give you some rippets?
So I screwed that up. They were supposed to deliver it yesterday, but the guy who was supposed to be taking it for us in Fort Lauderdale, he wasn't there. And it was my fault, so sorry, Rip It. But we're going to go buy a case personally. I'm going to buy with my money because we were supposed to have a case. So I'm going to buy that and donate it to the nonprofit. So we'll be cruising around drinking Ribbits. And
Do you know the importance? Do you know the significance behind rippets?
No, why? What?
it's the fuel of war.
Fisters.
Fuel
is that-
of war.
Is that what it? Is that the
Wait,
slogan?
That's the shit that we
Yeah.
were drinking when we were over there.
When we
in
were
05,
deployed.
06.
It's like
You all are
23,
down there,
30
no
hour
shit.
missions.
The
And you're
Ribbit
just
challenges.
slamming
Sla-
Ribbits.
They were like
Oh,
these
wow.
little.
Look how excited we are.
Perfect.
guys.
Perfect fit for you
Oh,
guys.
yeah, it's so
shit,
good.
I didn't
So,
know that.
Obviously, shout out to Weedify Foundation. You guys are fucking awesome. TJ, Travis,
Yeah,
Alan for popping a kidney the other day when he tossed me in judo. Great guys. Joey had Joey and
Joey Bozick.
Yeah, Joey and Alan had a great interview. Sharing their thoughts about about veterans PTSD. Also, shout out to my mom, Lisa. You're such an inspiration to me. She's the one woman that chose to be in my life and stayed there. So
Shout out to Mom.
Love you, Mom. Mara, my kids, her kids, all the people that are involved directly in my life, but also, the people that support the mission most of all, on top of everybody. Yes, on top of my own family, because this nonprofit gives me purpose in life. I love my family. I love everybody that I'm involved with every day, but this thing that stumbled on my lap, and I finally picked it up and I created a thought into a thing, and it's reached thousands of veterans in the last 2 years. We're on this big nationwide tour, and the jiu-jitsu community alone, to shout out to the jiu-jitsu community for supporting this.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm so fucking humbled over the last couple months, especially with all the breakdowns. Every time we've broken down, somebody bought us lunch. A guy came up to us and just gave us $20. He's like, dude, I see what you guys are doing. I looked you up online while I was waiting, and I saw all the stuff that you're doing. He's like, I appreciate what you're doing. He was a Vietnam vet.
Awesome.
And then people would buy us food. People bought us car parts. It's just, I feel so humbled that so many people believe in this mission, because I know exactly what it's going to do. I'm in the process of showing you. I just need your support to keep continuing to make this happen, because this nonprofit is going to save lives. This documentary is going to save lives.
And they can donate on Facebook,
on
Instagram,
PayPal Giving Fund. You can do Amazon Smile.
WarriorsNextAdventure.com.
WarriorsNextAdventure.com. Patreon. There's millions of different ways.
And when you're ready, let us know. We're all going to write emails to Netflix.
Yeah, I want everybody to say, you need this documentary on Netflix. So
It's gonna happen.
I'm going to do my best to get the episodes put out by at least July next year. So.
And also, I know I usually mention it for us, but I'm going to let you do it. Amazon Smile.
Yeah, so Amazon Smile is super important. You log into Amazon Smile. You can choose an organization.
Go into your settings.
Jiu-Jitsu, your foundation's
we do
on
it
there
too.
as well, right?
Yeah, but I'm going to let you mention it for you. So Amazon Smile, go into your settings. You can choose a nonprofit. Just start, type in Warriors Next Adventure, and it basically, you'll see the Amazon Smile logo on your app or on your computer. Make sure you see it before you order. And usually when you choose an item, that's, very few items don't.
I think it's almost everything.
It's just about everything. You'll see Warriors Next Adventure. Like when you're purchasing, it'll say, like this portion will be donated to this organization. And when you check out, I think it's like 0.005% or something like that of your purchase price.
You personally are not donating. What you're doing is by shopping with Amazon Smile, Amazon donates a portion to it. So you're not getting charged for it, but you're helping us.
Your shopping experience doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
The products are all the same. Nothing changes, and they're not charging you more. You're just getting Amazon to basically donate on your behalf to an organization.
You get to help me change lives.
So do that. So let me just go through a little housekeeping here, guys. I'm not going to mention any of our foundation stuff today because I want everybody to go donate to Warriors Next. Okay.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
All right. So we're going to shout out Flow and Roll. Thank you, as always, for everything you do at flow_and_roll on Instagram. You can use the code JJD at flowandroll.com to get 20% off your order. I'm going to shout out our Patreon patrons real quick. Carlson Gracie Winterhaven. Thank you guys for all your support. You can check them out at Carlson Gracie. Carlson Gracie _Winterhaven on Instagram. Carlson Gracie, Broward County.
Yeah.
That's your boy Big J, right?
Big J.
Listen, I want to have Big J on the show.
All right.
It's not about I've been waiting for you and Junior to be available at the same time because I know that you guys both know him.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
you know him? Do you know him better?
No, Junior knows him. I know him.
You've trained?
Yeah, we've trained.
Okay. So I figured it would be nice that, I don't know him. I know of him, but I was waiting for you guys to come in. So anyway, they're a Patreon sponsor. So, we give them a shout out. So Carlson Gracie, Broward County in North Lauderdale. Carlson Gracie, BrowardCounty.com. Right? Yeah, yes. That's his code. Yeah. Check them out at Carlson Gracie, Broward County. John Way Martial Arts as well. Plantation, Florida, johnwaymartialarts.com. And at John Way Martial Arts on Instagram. All right. Those are our gym sponsors. Our Patreon sponsors include Robert Walker, Frank House, Wolsey Rivera, Boa Athletics. You can check them out out at it's at BOA_athletics on Instagram. Michael Pixley Jr., Jason Smiley, Britt Tavar, who does a lot of stuff with Fight Back, our CBD guys. James Fisher, CJ Carroll, Mission 22. We like to give him a shout out as well. CJ's always asked us to give him a shout out.
Hell yeah.
Chuck Reddoor and Roberto Santiago. Okay. So if you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Jiu-Jitsu Dummies. And you basically like pledging $5, $10, $15, whatever you want per month. And then you get entered into our $100 giveaway every month. So we do that swag giveaway. Sometimes it's Fight Back CBD. Sometimes it's our product. Sometimes it's a gi. We just get one of our companies or supporters to give us something to give away. And if we don't do that, they're doing something. They're getting something from the podcast store. So jiujitsudummies.shop. All right. So you can get 15% off at our shop with code JJD as well. We've got rash guards, like you got the T-shirts I gave you guys. All that stuff is available at jiujitsudummies.shop. You can check us out at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies Shop on Instagram. We always thank and shout out We Defy as well. They've been a great supporter of the show. Had TJ on. Love those guys. They're amazing. Joey and Alan have been on the show. We even did a little private, I did this with Junior. We did a little private like Zoom for just like some of our Patreon sponsors. And it was like an exclusive thing. We were testing it out. Worked out really well. And I met them for the first time. And then Joey came back on the show with some of the board members again.
Yeah, they're awesome.
After that. Yeah, they're all amazing guys, man. So, okay, we're going to leave it there. I'm at Uncle Milty BJJ on IG.
Drew_Phoenix.
And the gym?
Oh, A&M_BJJ.
You say it again.
A&M_BJJ.
You always forget to use the gym one.
Yeah.
I got to remind you.
At Warriors Next Venture or at Nick_explores_everything.
Do you want to give out an IG or no?
No, I'm not a cool kid. So,
all right, listen, guys. Thank you so much for doing this. I had a ball rolling with you and you guys yesterday. We're gonna or today. I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna come tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Let's do it. We'll be there.
Awesome.
You gonna show the move of the day?
Oh, he's definitely
showing the move of the day.
I love
yeah.
doing
All right,
this.
so I'm definitely gonna come. Was it 12 o'clock? 12 noon?
No, 11 o'clock is the
11
gi
o'clock.
class
11
because we
o'clock.
do wear pajamas at my gym.
Okay.
And then at 12 o'clock, wear whatever the fuck you want. But we usually go no gi.
All right, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Sounds good, bro.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Take care. Os.